The International. And oh, yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to Thursday. It's Thankful Thursday, is what we like to call it around here. Thankful Thursday. Hit it, man.
You got to be more thankful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
We thank you so much for this bountiful harvest of Domino's, KFC, and the always delicious Taco Bell.
Have you said thank you once?
Thank you.
Like it. Thank you. Thankful Thursday. And I'm thankful for JP, who's on the board pushing buttons. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm thankful for you.
I'm thankful that you're thankful for me.
I'm thankful that the Thankful Thursday has stuck as well. Yeah, there's a little bit of time there. There was debate on T-Bone Thursday, but Thankful Thursday, it's stuck.
Thankful Thursday is where it needs to be.
I think it fits.
I'm good with that. All right. Hey, we got a great show laid on for you. Since it's Thankful Thursday, you know, we got a couple of people that we're thankful for who come on and join us on Thursdays, and that would be Butters and Lee. So coming up halfway through hour number 2, yes, indeedy, a round of Q&A with Butters and Lee. So stand by for that one. And then I still got a triple dipper just filled up with stuff, and so hit it.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper, 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. So first out the gate, truth and consequences. Yeah, truth and consequences. So Jimmy Kimmel fooled around and found out, and we'll talk about it. It'll be in my monologue here momentarily also. But the left is suddenly figuring out, wait, you mean sometimes there's like actual repercussions for our actions? Yes, there are. Truth and consequences, that's number 1 on the Triple Dipper. Number 2, sowing discord. I don't know if you heard it or not, but the President of the United States is declaring Antifa as a terrorist organization. There you go. They're out there sowing discord. And it's not just them. You got others like, how about why is it we can't deport people who are here on a green card who are organizing campus protests? I got news. We can. But we're talking about all the things in which the left is running amok right now, trying to sow discord. That's number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, I got another round of illegals. Let's not forget that in the midst of all the news that's really dominating, and rightfully so, about the Charlie Kirk assassination and all of that, that there are still other things happening that have been long on this show's agenda, one of which is the rounding up and deporting of illegals. So we got people here that are committing crimes, and we also got still a wild dose of illegal immigrants who are still in our nation. And we're wondering how long this is going to take. But I'm telling you right now, the Trump administration is still pursuing it hotly. So we'll talk about it in detail. Latest developments, illegals. That's number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, well, let me jump on into today's Rightside Way opening monologue. I'll remind you guys, as always, that attorney Stan McDonald is indeed your daily sponsor of the Rightside Way. Longtime conservative, longtime attorney practicing law in North Alabama. And I'll tell you more about Stan here momentarily. All right, well, I kind of touched on it a moment ago, but you may have seen the news that broke last night about late-night host Jimmy Kimmel having his show abruptly terminated. JP's the one who actually brought it to my attention, sent me a text last night, and I quickly got on the news and found out all about it. And this is an epic move on the part of ABC and its parent company, Disney. Nexstar Media Group, that also owns hundreds of television stations, announced immediately it was going to be preempting Kimmel's Jimmy Kimmel Live show for what it called, quote, the foreseeable future, with other content. Saying this, here's their statement. They said, Mr. Kimmel's comments about the death of Mr. Kirk are offensive and insensitive at a critical time in our national political discourse, and we do not believe they reflect the spectrum of opinions, views, or values of the local communities in which we are located. Wow. I mean, did this really just happen? The left is actually facing consequences for their own actions. Yep. So what did Kimmel do? What was the incident that broke the proverbial ice, that cracked the proverbial dam, that broke the proverbial camel's back? Well, he lied. That's what he did. He lied, and it wasn't a joke. It wasn't an opinion. It wasn't a mere slip of the tongue. Kimmel stood up in front of the cameras on a national broadcast in front of millions, and he told a bald-faced lie about the murder of Charlie Kirk by insisting that the shooter was a Trump supporter from the right side of the political discourse spectrum. His actual statements were this. Here's what Kimmel actually said. He said, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang, desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it." My God. So not only did he lie about the shooter, he then lied about the vast number of Americans who were grieving over the loss of a revered figure in the conservative movement at a time when the wounds are still actually very raw. It was insensitive, it was callous, it was gross, and it was a lie. But you know what? Lies have a way of coming back to bite the liars. And the Federal Communications Commission chairman, Brendan Carr, he wasted no time. So Carr came out right away and reminded the world that Kimmel is not a podcaster. He's not an opinion writer. He's not a conspiracy website host. Kimmel actually operates under an FCC license, and that license is subject to rules and restrictions that actually govern the use of the airwaves. In his statement about the issue, FCC's Chairman Carr said, here's his quote, "In some quarters, there's a very concerted effort to try to lie to the American people about the nature of one of the most significantly newsworthy public interest acts that we've seen in a long time, in what appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into that narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican-motivated person. Broadcasters," he said, "are entirely different than people that use other forms of communication. They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest." In other words, you can't do that. There are consequences. Basically, the consequences are that lies on the major airwaves, they will be addressed. And oh, by the way, ABC finally realized that apparently conservatives watch TV too, and ratings may actually matter. So consequences follow the utterance of the lie. And this is basically an employment decision, but it was the right one. Look, one of my favorite political personalities is Margaret Thatcher, the former Prime Minister of England. She had a way with words, and one of my favorites was when, at a press conference, one of the reporters began to take issue with her position, asking her, "But madam, isn't that just the same old story?" Without blinking, Thatcher looked at him and said, "Of course it's the same old story. The truth usually is the same old story." Her point is well taken. Truth is supposed to be unbendable. Truth is the thing that exists when all else is gray. Truth is real, and if it is in fact truth, then nothing can change it. But today there's a movement to go fast and loose with the truth by arguing with things like what Oprah Winfrey calls your own truth. Well, here's the deal. The luxury of redefining truth, or worse yet, carving out your own little version of truth, is in itself not true. Truth is not an option. You can choose to deny it if you want to. You can choose to operate outside the bounds of truth. You can even lie about it, but in the end, truth is still truth, and that's all there is to it. As an attorney, I have more than once had to advise my clients about things that their feelings about an issue were not actually what the law allows. I've told you before, it's hard to do when they're emotionally caught up in their own loss or their grievance, but the black and white letter of the law is still going to have the final say. I had one client one time that told me in no uncertain terms, he wanted to sue a city for taxing him incorrectly. "Those blankety blank so-and-sos are destroying my business profitability, taking too much of my hard-earned money." Well, he was going to file a criminal complaint. He was going to sue in circuit court. He was going to fight this all the way because he knew what was true. Well, the problem was it was his version of truth and his only. I had to tell him, no, actually the process is you're required by law to request an administrative hearing. Had to be done a certain way, that he could not just leap into court whenever he felt like it, and that he also had absolutely no grounds for a criminal complaint. But he knew what he knew, man. And unfortunately, the burden of proof was actually on his side to show beyond a reasonable doubt that his version of the truth was the truth. Well, I agreed to help him with his administrative review, but the result was still the same. He owed the taxes, period. After which he lashed out at everybody, threatened to file a grievance with the state bar against the mediator and the opposing counsel. Then he filed a criminal complaint. Then he demanded I file a civil appeal, at which point I told him no, and he went and got another attorney. You see, the central issue in his problem was not everyone else on God's green earth, it was him. He was blindly adhering to a storyline that did not ring true in the end because it was just his version of truth. But he continued to lash out, daring anyone to question him. Look, what I just described to you is what we often see in the progressive left's constant attempt to change culture or the narratives to fit their truth. But let me give you two responses that I guarantee you will give you a leg up in any discussion with a liberal who is bound and determined to rewrite truth to suit their own notions. First of all, here's the thing. They lie to you or tell you something you know is not true to simply let them know They're not allowed to simply say that something is a new truth or a new version of truth. And they're going to get mad. Just go ahead and plan on it. They're going to call you a homophobe or a climate change denier or some other brand they use when they don't get their way. But just calmly let them know that their version of truth is still not truth. And then secondly, follow up by letting them know the burden of proof is actually on them. And that'll freak them out. Because what you've just done is show them that, first of all, you are onto their game and that you have principles and knowledge that you're standing on. Secondly, you're putting the onus back on them to actually prove their point. And the bottom line is they usually can't. And that's where it gets really fun. For example, let's say that you're in the unfortunate position of having to deal with someone who demands you use their chosen pronouns, they, them, because, their truth is that they're non-binary, neither male nor female, but something in between, perhaps even due to the application of the new gender theories altogether. Never mind that the grammatically incorrect use of the English language has never been supportive of using they, them to represent a singular person, like ever. So you look at them and say, I'm sorry, there's no truth in that. Instantly, you're homophobic. Instantly, they're calling you names, denying them the most basic of their rights, triggering their vast insecurities about the deprivations that non-binary people have always endured through the centuries at the hands of cis white males. So you take a breath and you blink at them benignly like a cow grazing in a sunny pasture, and you simply say, prove it. And this is where they will either retreat hastily or demand that you capitulate under their threats because they can't prove it. So you go one step further. You let them know that the biological sciences don't support their status, that men can't have babies, and that women can't be dudes, and ask what they can do to prove their science, because after all, the burden of proof is actually theirs. See, this is what you do with liberals. When a liberal confronts you with their version of the world and they demand that you take part in it or adhere to it or condone it in some way, simply start by saying, no, that's not true. And secondly, remind them that it's on them to prove it, not you. Bottom line is Jimmy Kimmel fooled around and found out. His so-called truth was nothing more than a festering lie that did nothing but offend millions. Millions. So yeah, look, when the left hits you up with the demand that you give heed to their version of truth, just remember, you don't have to accept it, and you can tell them you don't accept it. And the burden of proof is actually on them because, yes, truth usually is the same old story. And maybe their truth is just a lie. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Yeah, the left does this constantly. They rewrite history with the 1619 Project. They rewrite what is an existential threat to humanity with things like climate change. They'll tell you that men can be women and women can be men and that right is wrong and wrong is right. And the reality is this. If you know what you believe, you look them in the eye and tell them, that ain't true, prove it. It freaks them out every time. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, you're not going to want to miss the latest edition of the Just Right podcast. We just put it in the can. Listen, we interviewed Ton Boyer, author of The Ground Kisser. What an amazing story she has, escaping communist Vietnam as a child, on a refugee boat filled with hundreds of people, intercepted by pirates, left adrift in the South China Sea, became a refugee, eventually found her way to the United States. She has a mission right now, basically to tell the world why America is the greatest place on the face of the earth, and two, to make sure Vietnam veterans know that they are loved and appreciated. Ton Boyer, you are not going to want to miss this conversation. Just Right podcast coming up. Yeah, let's do a show.
1, 2, 3, hey!
Well, Ton Boyer, welcome to the Rightside Media Studio.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you.
For having me.
Look, I'm going to do just a brief introduction, sort of tell the world who's sitting here at the table with me. But you got an amazing story. An amazing story. You grew up in a time of war in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
You became a refugee at one point, robbed by pirates as you were, leaving the country.
Right.
You were left adrift at some point. I understand you wound up in Indonesia. You finally came to America. Mm-hmm. You found your husband. You found the Lord. You raised a family. And I think one of the things that I've noticed is you have a love for this country, which we'll talk about more with your book in a minute. But for right now, welcome to the Just Right podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Well, listen, I said it a moment ago. So you grew up in a time of war.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us where you're from and how that came about.
Yeah. I was 8 years old when the war ended. I came
Vietnam.
from in Vietnam. I came from the Mekong Delta of Vietnam. We live right by the Mekong River. Mekong River is pretty big river. I think it's even bigger than the Mississippi River here. But we live right on the border between Cambodia and Vietnam. It's about 6 miles from my house. The border is, and I was 8 years old when the war ended. And because I live on the border of Cambodia and Vietnam, I also experienced the war between Cambodia and Vietnam after the fall of Saigon in 1975.
Yeah, that was a turbulent time. I mean, you're talking about the time of not just the United States presence in Vietnam and what the fall of Saigon was 1975. Yeah.
I think the U.S. troop pulled out in 1973.
Yeah. And then Saigon fell in 75. Is that right?
Right.
The communist takeover of the country at that point.
Exactly.
But then the Khmer Rouge were north in Cambodia, and the killing fields started in like 78, 79 time frame.
Yes, about 76 when it kind of started, and then it just escalated between 78 and 79.
Now you lived in the Mekong Delta area, so were you in an urban environment or were you in like a rural environment?
I was in an urban environment. It's a little town called Tăng Châu, Tanchau, and is in the An Giang province. It's, the roads in Vietnam is really not smooth like here. So it takes about 6 hours from Saigon. So it's a little bit southwest of Saigon.
Listen, I've had some time overseas myself in different parts of the world. And I've said many times people don't realize here in America that the dirtiest alleyway is sometimes better than the best road in foreign countries.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you remember war when you were a kid?
Gosh, yes. I remember a lot. And, when the thought of putting my story together and putting it in a book, I realized that I had forgotten a lot. And once I enlisted Lisa Smith to help me with the book, she asked some questions, and it just kind of, helped me to go back to the past. So yeah, I remember mostly where I am. The Vietnam War didn't affect me as much, but the war between Cambodia and Vietnam affected me a whole lot more because being near the border town, living by the Mekong River, we saw the atrocities of Pol Pot's, the killing fields, basically, coming down that river every single day.
I saw a speech you gave getting ready for today, and you talked about the fact that your mother would say, "Don't go to the river."
Yeah.
Yeah. And you did anyway.
Yes.
Like most kids would do. Mom says, "Don't do it."
Exactly.
You did it, but what did you see? What happened when you went down there?
Well, my parents tried to shield us. We came from a very wealthy family, so my parents tried to shield us from a lot of things, and there are times where the atrocity of Pol Pot's bodies.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. All right, I got to tell you about Stan McDonald. Yep, indeedy. Stan McDonald, a partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee out of Huntsville, a 30-year practitioner of law in North Alabama. And not only is Stan McDonald a good lawyer, but y'all, this man has been like a conservative policy warrior now for years. All the policies, politics, and everything else that right-side ruffians care about, he's been in the trenches for years. But yeah, attorney Stan McDonald, though, he has represented his clients in literally thousands of real estate transactions over the years. He can stand up for you in any local, state, or federal court. I like to always say, if Stan McDonald's on your side, you're going to have no greater friend. Likewise, your adversaries would have no greater foe. So you need a lawyer in North Alabama. Y'all, I'm going to give you his number. You ready? Attorney Stan McDonald, the law firm is Wilmer and Lee. He's an America First family man. Here's his number, 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. Tell him you heard about it on Rightside Radio. And no representation made. The quality legal services would ever be something worse than a bag of potato chips. I don't know why I said that. No, Stan's a good lawyer. He'd be right for you. Give him a call. In fact, what's fun, though, is he has actually told me multiple times here of late, he's been able to have people come in and say, I contacted you because I heard about your ad on the radio. So yay for that.
Including the Popeyes biscuit lady as well.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Sweet lady.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of text messages, and you had something over there, too. What do you got on social media?
We got a couple of good comments. We got Dennis on the YouTube saying, I'm thankful for the good Lord above and Rightside Radio. Thank you so much.
Dennis, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
And we also got John from Huntsville who says that I'm thankful that Jimmy Kimmel is gone from late night TV.
I think there's a lot of folks thankful for that.
I would be thankful if I watched it.
Okay. There's that.
Just kidding. I'm still thankful.
No, that's a good point. TL from Huntsville on the text line says, another great monologue, Phil. Thank you, sir. Says the truth matters. Quote, if you want to have a healthy mind, you must feed your mind with truth. That's Rick Warren. Yeah. And thanks for how you planned out the show yesterday. At first, I had my arms crossed thinking it was too soon for lighthearted talk, but you have me at lab-grown meat. And thanks for how you ended the show with the humorous clip of Charlie being stranded on an island with a lib. Some of the best memories of Charlie will be about his quick wit and engaging manner. Happy Thankful Thursday. TL, thank you. And yes, I admire that. I think I said it yesterday. He had the gift of improv. I mean, it's as if he was the political discourse version of an improv comedian, like a Robin Williams kind of guy, where you could ask him a question and it just came to him. He could deal with it. I don't know that I ever saw him stumped.
It's not easy to do what he did. Like, to go and debate people, you don't know who's going to come up to the mic. You don't know what they're going to ask you about. You got to be ready. And his ability to, like you said, improv it and be quick on his feet, but also have a humor about it, made him appealing and able to talk to young people. He was made to do what he was doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And gifted at it. Yeah, very much. Bruce from Springville says, pertaining to Charlie Kirk, said, I've remained silent in comments for a reason. I've intensified my ministry to others, especially veterans, in honor of God and Charlie. This is what he both would want. I'll let my actions speak for themselves. Fair enough, Bruce. Thank you. Dave from Capshaw sends us something. Is it a meme? What do we got here? Yes, it's a Babylon Bee. Babylon Bee has Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, and it says, this is a both sides issues, says the side that assassinated Charlie Kirk, shot President Trump, tried to assassinate Kavanaugh, tried to assassinate Trump again, murdered school kids in Minnesota, shot Steve Scalise, and firebombed Governor Shapiro. And then went on to have to say, continued on the next page. That's spot on, brother. Spot on. All right, listen, we're taking a break. We'll come right back and we'll dive right in. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Coming down that Mekong River. And I'm not talking about one or two bodies. I'm talking about a wave of hundreds and thousands of bodies.
And you saw this as a kid.
I went, my mom and dad was like, don't go to the river, don't go look out to the river. And other kids, of course, me, and also dragging some of my siblings and cousins and go look at it. And I remember seeing bloated bodies, headless, heads and hands and limbs, and just coming down, floating down the river, and watching some of my relatives taking long sticks and push the body parts back into the channel so that it would, keep on floating down that main channel. And I remember the smell of it. It's just horrific.
There are, I've heard it said sometimes that memories are sometimes keyed more by smell than they are by visual.
Yeah.
Smells come back to you. They bring things back.
Absolutely. Believe it or not, the blooms of the pear trees in spring bring that memories back.
Really?
There's a smell of it that it's remind me of the bodies that I smell as 8-9 years old. Wow. And I remember the other 2 weeks ago when I was given talk to a high school kids, and another memory came back of that time. I remember when the water received from the Mekong River, sometimes my family would let me play, me and my siblings and cousin. I have 1,000 cousins in Vietnam. I mean, we're all related somehow. So we would play by the river, out there with the water about waist deep, and us playing in that river somehow. I remember seeing a hand,
Oh, wow.
and we were all just screaming to get out of the water. And when you start seeing one or two body parts, there's more coming. So, I mean, within hours, you start seeing more bodies coming in. That's the Cambodian, that's Pol Pot's. Their communism, I think, is more evil than even Vietnam, because if you wear glasses, they will kill you. That's represent intellectual. They're not going to have it. If you can read a book, they will kill you.
And I remember hearing too that one of the things that was so amazing was how they would have children turn against parents, and
Yes.
and parents even turn against children.
Yes.
And it was self-preservation meant turning someone in, and that was how you protected yourself. And
Yes.
what a horrible life.
And I mean, to today, there are homes in my hometown where blood stains on the wall still. There's still blood stains on the wall, because where the Khmerich would come in at night, and they would try to extract information from the locals, and they would take babies from mother's arms and take the baby and smash the baby against the wall, and there's still blood stains on those walls to today.
Well, I don't think Americans sometimes realize the blessing of living in a country where war does not touch the ground we walk on.
Right. Yeah.
Having said that, so you lived through some amazing events in your home country, your original, your country of your origin. What was it like when the communists took over the country? I mean, you went from, and you said your family was fairly wealthy. What did your family do, by the way? How did
Yeah. So my great-grandparents, my paternal great-grandparents, escaped the communist part of China.
Okay.
So he and my great-grandmother escaped communist part of China and settled in the Mekong Delta. He was a Eastern medicine man, so that was his profession. So they started a family there. Because we live by the Mekong River, which the Mekong River is a gateway to all the commodities, coming down that river from Cambodia and other part of the
trade route.
Trade route.
Are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the Southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. This show. I mean, it goes like from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean, all the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the line from there to what we call, once again, Fort Benning. Big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi thrown in too, just for good measure. And oh, by the way, that's just the radio footprint, just the radio. Then there's all y'all out there, a lot of you out there in the whole wide world, going to the World Wide Web, live streaming the show, looking right in the studio at us. Live streaming the show on places like X and YouTube and Rumble and Facebook and our website, rightsidemedia.org. All our stuff's on there, rightsidemedia.org. And then, oh, by the way, you podcasters that catch it after the fact. What I'm trying to say is, a lot of folks catch this show in a lot of different ways, and yet we can tell and we know it and we appreciate it. This is Thankful Thursday. We're thankful for all of you. So, yeah, appreciate you. You're the reason why we do it. Last few texts, and I'll jump on in the content. The text lines are open, by the way, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. JT Lacey Springs says, Thankful Thursday is most appropriate. Today, the wife and I again put veggies to the road. Total to date. Oh, I see what he's saying. Gotcha. Yeah. Good deal, man. That's some fine looking produce you got right there.
Yeah. Where's that at?
Yeah,
I need some
no doubt. Lacey Springs, I imagine.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks, JT. John from Huntsville checking in says, Phil, spectacular monologue. Thank you. So also, I wonder what kind of show is going to be put in place of Jimmy Kimmel's show. By the way, I just want to say it's about time late night hosts saw some consequences for their despicable actions. No doubt, man. I'll tell you what, and I know I'm old, but to me, the two premiers of late night were Johnny Carson and Jay Leno, the best. I mean, I know other people have their favorites, but Johnny Carson and then Jay Leno, you can't beat them. What?
My favorite modern one was Conan.
You like Conan?
He's
still on, isn't he?
He's still on.
Yeah.
I don't watch him regularly, but he was one of the only ones that actually made me laugh routinely. And he's not political on his show. I could be wrong. He may be political now, but that at least wasn't the case. He's like the only one I can really stomach a lot.
How tall is that guy?
Oh, he's got to be like 6'4", 6'5".
No. I think he's more like 6'6", 6'7", isn't he?
He's 6'4".
That's all.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got hair that makes him another 6 inches when
Yeah.
they put that pompadour up there on top. Clay from Madison says, yeah, I got it, Clay. Thank you. I already passed it on. And then Joe in Tennessee says, the president and the first lady are on their way back with the medals. $350 billion in trade deals. Winning, all caps. Yeah, I haven't got into all that yet, but I did see that apparently it was a pretty good trip over to the UK, and it was a significant moment. I think he's the only president in history to have had 2 state dinners in the United Kingdom, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. Scott from Russellville says Craig Ferguson was my favorite. Craig Ferguson. Is this a late night guy? I don't know Craig Ferguson. Why do I not know Craig Ferguson? Are you looking him up? Is he a late night guy? Craig Ferguson, local?
I guess he was. It says, yeah, he used to be a television host. He hosted the Late Late Show on CBS.
It's been past my bedtime. I don't know.
Well, it was the Late Late Show. So,
and then Roughly Ann from Huntsville says, in lieu of the Jimmy Kimmel Show Friday night, tomorrow night, they're having a Charlie Kirk special. How about that? It'll be the only time that I've watched that station at that time, and I don't know how many years. Yes, everyone view the Charlie Kirk special. Yeah, good stuff, man. That's good. Hey, by the way, JP mentioned yesterday there is and there's several. I know of one that's forming in Gadsden for a Charlie Kirk prayer vigil. And my understanding is it's going to be in the Gadsden area, I think right outside of Gadsden City Hall. There's a gazebo there on the grounds overlooking the river. And I think that's going to be Saturday afternoon or evening. I don't have all the details yet. I'll work on that. And then there's the one you mentioned. There's one last night in Tuscaloosa, but you mentioned the one in Decatur on Sunday. It appears I'm speaking at that one also. So that one is scheduled from, is it 4 to 7, JP?
yeah, 4 to 7.
Yeah.
Frederick's Outdoor in Decatur.
Yeah. I'll be speaking, Brylan Hollyhan speaking, and Congressman Barry Moore speaking. So anyway, make plans. Come on out and see us. I think that's the right thing to do. And I'm glad to be a part of one of these organized events. All right, we're going to dive right into some stuff here. This whole first section, truth and consequences. You know, it's just amazing to me. Now, the left is screaming, cancel culture. They invented cancel culture, first of all. So there's the irony. I mean, you want to create Lord of the Flies and then wonder why someone turns on you. I'm just saying. But this is not cancel culture. So if you're not familiar, if you didn't hear my monologue a moment ago, Jimmy Kimmel last night lost his show. As far as we know, he lost it forever. We don't have any indication it's coming back. The statement from the media is that it has been basically pulled off the air for the foreseeable future, anticipating that there may be some discussions. They had to have some wiggle room in case there was a contract out they had to deal with, but they wanted him off the air right away. Obviously, they wasted no time on this, and I'm really kind of taken aback by that. I'm surprised. But the left is now screaming. In fact, I saw Eric Swalwell, Fang. Anyway, Swalwell was wearing his Jimmy Kimmel hat today and claiming that he's going to be investigating the FCC as soon as we have the authority to be in charge again. Okay, first of all, don't ever put him in charge of anything. But secondly, this is not that. This is not a First Amendment issue. This is an employment issue. This is an issue in which a network had somebody that went on the air and said something that was so egregious, so off color, so off-putting, and so untrue that it offended millions of people nationwide. And the network realized, one, the FCC is actually going to take this stuff serious now. And two, we run the risk of losing advertisers. And three, we've angered all of our affiliates because a lot of the affiliates are owned separately, like Sinclair Broadcasting, or in this case, Nexstar Broadcasting. And then four, just the viewers themselves, because like I said earlier, apparently conservatives watch TV too, right? So if you want ratings and you're going to literally lie to and insult and anger half of America, maybe you got something going on here that is just not good for the company. And so in an entirely employment-based decision, ABC pulled him off the air, just like, that, gone. And the left's freaking out. I seem to recall the deplatforming of President Trump and multiple other conservatives. I've heard of, the debanking of people who had conservative businesses losing their accounts at their bank,
no-fly list,
not getting their loans, Tulsi Gabbard being put on a no-fly list. The large number of former intelligence officials who lacked the intelligence necessary and came out and signed a letter saying that the Hunter Biden laptop was not real and it was a part of Russia collusion. And then there's Russia itself. I mean, you can go on and on and on. The left has literally been the side of the aisle that constantly tries to cancel people for their beliefs. In this case, the government didn't say, we're going to cancel you for your beliefs. His employer said, you are doing us no good. You're an embarrassment to our network. We need you out of here. And that's what happened. And the left's like, wait a minute, but we're not supposed to face consequences for our actions. I got news. There's a whole new sheriff in town. And yes, you do. A couple of times here, I have seen where there has been a huge calling out of the left. They are not getting carte blanche. They're not getting free rein anymore, even on their own networks. CNN, which, by the way, I'm scheduled to be on CNN again this coming Monday, I believe. Yeah, Monday. I'll be up there in New York City, as far as I know, unless they change the schedule, which they are wont to do occasionally. But as far as I know, I'll be there on the Abby Phillip show, Newsnight with Abby Phillip on Monday night. But Caitlin Collins, who's from Alabama, by the way.
Unfortunately.
Where'd she go to school? Troy State or
Alabama?
She went to Alabama?
Yeah, she went to I think the only thing I agree with her on is that she likes Alabama sports. That's pretty much it.
Okay. But Ted Cruz was being interviewed by Caitlin Collins. Caitlin Collins was going down the road. See, here's the thing. They will try and right now, the big mantra on the left is, well, we don't know for sure what his motives were. And you can't say for sure that he was a liberal. And, oh, by the way, he was raised by conservatives. So that should tell you something. What? No. How about none of that matters? We know what his status was. We know what his motivations were. We can see what his lifestyle was. And none of it screams, make America great again, Republican. None of it. In fact, we have the text messages between he and his boyfriend talking about the fact that he hated Charlie Kirk. There's a motive. He hated Charlie Kirk. All right, I've got an audio clip here of Ted Cruz just dismantling Caitlin Collins, who was insistent that we really don't know his motive yet, Senator. We don't know his motive. Yes, we do. How long is this clip here?
It's about 5 minutes, but you cut it off. You cut it off whenever it's done.
Okay, ready? Play it.
There, and we don't have a motive yet. We don't know yet. We're waiting. Obviously, we've heard what the governor's had to say, what the FBI director said today.
Come on, we don't have a motive yet.
We know
we don't have a motive yet.
What's
really?
happening with
really? That's CNN's position.
I mean, from law enforcement,
he just happened
Senator.
to fire the gun in celebration. You can't tell the motive,
Senator.
here.
That's not what I said, and I said law enforcement hasn't laid out a direct motive. They've laid out a lot of evidence here of these messages and what
actually
the
they
shooter
have.
said
They've
to
said that
family
he was a
members
left-wing
and to
activist who
roommates.
hated Charlie Kirk.
He brought receipts.
Pardon?
Pause it.
Senator.
Pause it there for a second. The man brought receipts. Actually, we have. The district attorney has said what his motivation were. I mean, they indicted him on motivation, right? They're looking at it being a hate crime under federal law because they know his motivations. He was very open about his hate for Charlie Kirk and his boyfriend who's a transgender and all of it. We know this stuff. It's not like it's hidden. And yet Caitlin Collins trying to go down the road of gaslighting America. Well, we don't really understand his full motives yet, but let's talk about what. Stop it. Keep playing.
With all due respect, you know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not arguing with you politically. I'm saying that law enforcement has not put a specific motive. You know that there's a difference of what they're putting in a legal argument than what you're talking about. And you're not even, we're not even arguing about the facts here.
What you just said is false,
Senator,
Caitlin.
No.
Caitlin, facts. Hold on a second. Let me answer your statement, because what you said is factually
Senator, with
false.
all due respect,
law enforcement.
With all due respect, you're putting a lot of statements
okay, go ahead,
that I did not say. And I want to get back to. We just laid out the facts.
You
in the
just
opening
said
of the
law
show,
enforcement has not made out a motive.
today.
That is objectively
and we just spoke to the
false.
Deputy Attorney General.
That is objectively false.
I want to point out that when in my monologue earlier, I said that when a liberal comes to you with their version of the truth, they're following their own truth. You have to call me they, them, or whatever. You have to accept climate change. You have to say that, we should have fired everybody for not getting a COVID shot. Whatever their version of the truth is, there are two responses. And the first is what you're hearing right now. Just simply look at them and say, that's not true. And then remind them it's on them to prove it. Those two responses right there will freak them out. If you're watching the live stream right now and you're watching Caitlin Collins, when he first began to confront her, she went complete deer in the headlights. And the only thing she's got is Senator, with all due respect, Senator, with all due respect, Senator, with all due respect. She's a broken record, and she's not sure where to go because she was just confronted with the notion that what she said was not true. Keep playing it.
They have not set a concrete motive of exactly what it was.
And
They've laid out
CNN
every
should not be
evidence that we
engaged
know
in
so far.
misinformation. Caitlin, answer my question.
It's not
Have you seen the
misinformation,
polling
Senator.
that shows the vast majority of
you were
Democrats
taking what I
believe
said
this murderer is a
about
Republican and a
that.
Trump supporter? Have you seen that polling?
Let me get back to my questions, though, Senator, because the question here
You're not going to answer that
was
question?
actually
Are you going to answer
what
that
you were
question?
saying
You
about
have seen that
investigations
polling.
that you'd like to see.
So you're not going to
Senator,
answer
I'm
the
the one
question.
asking the questions here, and the question.
No, we're having a
you saying that
conversation. I understand
left-wing groups
that
need
you
to be
want to
investigated
say
for
things
where
that
the
are
financing
factually
is
false,
coming.
and then you
Do
don't
you believe
actually
that
want the
right-wing
facts.
groups also
You don't
need to
actually
be
want the facts
investigated?
laid out.
This is okay. Stop.
Okay, give your.
We got to take a break, but I think y'all get the point. Caitlin Collins was being destroyed by a man who, by the way, is a gifted debater. He just is. He's a gifted debater. And he also brought receipts. And the first thing he did was go, well, that's a lie. And then she didn't know what to do. That's the first thing, y'all. That's the first thing you do with a liberal is you look them in the eyes when they give you their version of truth and you point out that's a lie. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
My grandfather started buying commodities that came down that river, buy and sell. And he started that business, and he has 10 kids. My father is the third child. Okay. And everybody worked in my grandfather's business. And so he started that business. And I mean, we dealt with everything. We bought silk coming down that river. We had a bakery at one point. We had a Fanta bottling company, believe it or not.
Really?
In Vietnam, in South Vietnam at one point. So we were one of the richest family in our province.
So what happened when the communists came? Because
when the
wealth
communists,
is not usually allowed in the communist countries.
Not at all. They came in and they basically overnight, with a stroke of a pen, they nationalize all of our businesses and take away and close our bank account, froze our bank account, start take over some of our homes and our land. And they were allow my family to have only the bakery. And even with that, they tell us what to produce, how to produce it, and even at what price. So we went from having one of the richest family in the province to being just like everybody. I mean, that's what communism and socialism is, right? Yeah. They basically, their things is take from the rich to help the poor. Sounds great. Sounds really, who does not want everybody to be equal, but it doesn't work that way. All I did was take away the incentive of people really working want to do better for themselves, and the rich become poorer and the poor stay in poverty.
Yeah, communism crushes the spirit, doesn't it?
It is. And communism it's a religion. It is. It's a religion.
Was it so when they took over everything, when the communists took over the country, and the South Vietnamese government fell, did they literally come in, aside from the stroke of the pen and the things that they took, did they come in and did they micromanage your life? I mean, did they actually walk into the house and tell you, here's how things are going to be?
Yeah, we had a communist family came in and lived with us.
Live with you?
Just to watch us.
They put watchers in your house?
Yes. To make sure we didn't hide anything from them, because we were rich. And basically we went from, okay, I'll give you an example. Before, when you have aches and pain, you can go to the market and get a bottle of aspirin.
Right.
When the communists took over, commodities and everything was so scarce that you can only buy one aspirin. And also because that's all people could also afford.
Wow.
A pregnant mom can only buy one multivitamin. You can't just go buy enough rice and soy sauce and things like that for your family, or fabrics and threads to make clothes. You have to stand in line to buy, those things.
Everything rationed, everything parceled
Everything rationed,
out.
yes. And you can stand in line for hours sometimes, and there's nothing. And by the time they get to you, there's nothing left. And you have to come back the next day to get back in line.
Meanwhile, the communist leaders got fat.
They
sure.
got fat. Yes.
Yeah,
they
sure.
took over all the people homes and moved in, and yeah, even today, all the millionaires in Vietnam, you betcha, they have a communist tie to them.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so this is a turbulent time. How long after the fall of Saigon did you remain in the country? You personally remain in the country?
4 years.
So 4 years,
And
so
I think
1979-ish.
1979's 2 weeks after my birthday, which is in May, it's when my sister and I escaped Vietnam.
Okay, well, tell me about that, because I know in one of the speeches of yours that I reviewed, it wasn't your whole family that came out.
Right.
It was just a few, and your parents had to make a choice, basically.
Yes.
So what was that family discussion like to decide who leaves and who stays?
Gosh, I remember that night very clearly. I had several aunts and uncles. They were able to afford to pay passages. And when I say pay passages to leave Vietnam, meant that you're paying the official to look this way so you can escape this way.
This is a bribe.
It's a bribe. So if you get caught, they can throw you in jail. So basically you bribe the government to leave. So I had a few aunts and uncles that had signed up to leave Vietnam on this riverboat. And they're going to Australia because they felt Australia.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. All right, so the lovely Charlene just sent me something. I got to give her full credit because she nailed this. I had forgotten about this. She sent me a list that was compiled by someone of all of the different conservatives that have been canceled. She points out Roseanne Barr. Remember Roseanne? Fired by ABC Disney and her hit show after one tweet. Hundreds of cast and crew lost their jobs. Remember Gina Carano? Gina Carano, fired from The Mandalorian in 2021 because social media posts didn't fit the left's politics. They was also dropped by her own agency. Megyn Kelly was actually fired by NBC back in 2018 because she made comments about Halloween costumes. Dave Chappelle, remember this? I mean, he's not a liberal. I mean, he's not a conservative. Dave Chappelle, Netflix employee, staged a walkout, demanded his comedy special be pulled because they alleged transphobia. The left absolutely tried to cancel him. Joe Rogan, the left tried to get Spotify to drop him. All kinds of coordinated efforts on that.
Yeah, for saying that ivermectin was horse dewormer. Yeah.
Exactly. Tucker Carlson taken off Fox News in 2023. Liberal activists were bragging about how they had pressure campaigns to help force him out.
Jimmy Kimmel himself. celebrated it on his show.
There you go.
On his show, he celebrated it.
Irony.
Yeah.
Then there's the whole platform of Parler. Remember Parler? Parler was going to be the Twitter counterpart. Apple, Google, and Amazon colluded back in 2021 to wipe that entire platform off the internet, and tens of thousands of small creators lost their income overnight. About J.K. Rowling, author of all of the Harry Potter books. J.K. Rowling blacklisted from different events, attacked by activists, pressured out of projects. Mike Lindell of MyPillow. By the way, I use MyPillow. Mike Lindell of MyPillow was pulled from major retailers and banned from Twitter and targeted with advertiser boycotts. And then, of course, Alex Jones of InfoWars. Alex Jones of InfoWars, yeah, he said some stuff that'll get you, fired on TV, I guarantee you. But at the same time, he's out there on YouTube. It's supposed to be a free reign out there.
Not even. He's on X only.
Oh, that's right. He's X only. That's right. Simultaneously banned in 2018 by YouTube, Facebook, Apple, and Spotify. It was a coordinated erasing of his status.
Had to liquidate all of his assets. They're selling InfoWars to The Onion to just mock him. Yeah, Alex Jones is at the top of that list, in my opinion.
Wow. Yep. The left can scream all they want to. But the bottom line is they have no leg to stand on. They have literally come to the point right now where they are recognizing, oh, we're the one that opened this whole can, and now we got to eat from it. And I'm sorry, but that's just the way life is. And in fact, if you look at it, it wasn't like the government intervened. Did the FCC say something? Yeah, but it was Jimmy Kimmel's employers, the ones who actually survive on ratings and advertisers and viewers. Yeah, and affiliates. I mean, I've got one article here. I'll talk about it in a few minutes after the next break when we wrap this thing up. I've got one article here where basically one of the major ABC affiliates, which is Nexstar, they own hundreds of TV stations, decided they didn't want Jimmy Kimmel on their stations anymore because he didn't represent what they believed the communities they served wanted. What does that tell you? People are sick of this stuff. Go back to the time. How about this? Entertainers should entertain and stop virtue signaling all the time. The NFL should play football and stop putting, sweet messages in their end zones. Just go do what you do, right? If you're a fast food chain, just make freaking burgers. All said and done, Jimmy Kimmel fooled around and found out. We'll wrap this up when we get back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
Safest place to be. And also we have a few cousins that already left Vietnam before the fall of Saigon, and they settled in Australia.
Okay.
So overnight, one of my aunt came home and told my dad that there may be some empty spots on this refugee boat and that we should take the empty spots. And there's 8 of us in the family, my parents and 6 kids, me being the oldest.
Okay. How old were you at the time?
I was 12.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And basically, my parents have only a few hours to decide this. And my parents, of course, at this time in 1979, everybody was struggling. We don't have a whole lot of money. And I know it was a lot of sacrifice for my parents to even, bribe someone to the official for me and my sister to leave. And so, yeah, there were only enough money for just 2 passages. And so they picked me, being the oldest. I was 12. And my next sister, she was she's a little bit over 10 years old, to leave with my aunt and uncle. And my parent has to make the decision overnight. I mean, I just can't imagine.
No.
The pain and the...
Do you remember them telling you?
I remember, yeah. And I remember my parents said to trust them, And I think, being the oldest of 6, I'm pretty bratty. It's kind of like a bratty, and also kind of.
Were you headstrong?
Yeah. I mean, I can fight any boys in my neighborhood growing up. I mean, I would have like a spitting contest with the boys. And anyway, so I just felt like at that time, I felt like I'm trusting my parents. And even though now looking back, I can't even imagine them having to make this decision.
No.
Because, honestly, they don't know if they will ever see me and my sister again. They don't know that, right? But they have to make this hard decision because they knew that at least 2 of their kids may have a better life elsewhere than Vietnam.
Well, I mean, that's huge. And I've raised kids, and I understand you've raised your kids. And I cannot imagine at 10 and 12 years old sending them away and knowing I never see them again.
I remember saying,
what an amazing thing.
Saying goodbye to my little brother. He was 2 years old. And that night we slept in a mosquito enclosement. That's how we sleep in Vietnam.
Under
I remember
a net?
Yeah, mosquito net. I remember hugging my brother and one of my sister, 2 of the other sister. It was summer, so there was no school. So 2 of the sisters did visit some of our relatives elsewhere. I remember thinking, this is maybe the last time I get to see 2 of my siblings and my parents. And I just, that morning when my dad took my sister and I to the coast to leave on this riverboat, looking back and seeing my mom there, not sure if I ever see her again. That was hard.
Oh, well, I can't even imagine. I also can't imagine not just your side, but I can't even imagine the parent side of it. But so you got on the boat though, and you're on there, and you do have some family ties on the boat with you. You have an aunt, uncle, and some cousins.
Yes.
How many total?
There was 2 sets of aunts and uncles and 2 of their kids.
Okay. And then how many people total on the boat? I mean, is this
It's about 400.
Oh, this is not a small boat.
No, well, no, it's a small boat, but they fit as many people in there as they can, and there was not room. There was only room just to sit. There's not even room to lay down. And I remember one time my sister and I had our backs together just to sleep because there's no room to lay down.
All right, I heard you speak. This was not a smooth voyage. This boat, and you were actually at some point intercepted by pirates. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, how'd that go?
Well, not very well. But, well, first of all, the South China Sea was full of pirates at that time. And because they knew that the Vietnamese refugees carry gold and jewelries with them to start their lives elsewhere, right?
Right.
So piracy is, I think it was estimated that a quarter of the refugee boat people was robbed by pirates.
Wow.
And they're from Thailand and other, Malaysia, Indonesia, and all that. But yeah, we were, after several days at sea, we actually landed in Malaysia.
So you went ashore in Malaysia, or is this before the pirates or after?
This is okay. So this part may be a little bit sensitive, in a way, but this is the truth. We landed in Malaysia, and we thought we were going to be rescued. Well, the Malaysian Navy came out and they tied our boat to their boat, and they pulled us out to the sea.
Oh, wow.
And we thought we were getting pulled to somewhere like a refugee camp or something. They pulled us out to sea where there's no people that can see them. They robbed us.
The Malaysian Navy?
Yes, because they were in uniform.
Wow. Wow. Did you have any personal items of your own stolen? Were there any people that were taken? I mean,
yeah.
Well, I would imagine human trafficking is also an issue sometimes in this.
That would have happened, I believe, with all my heart. But if it wasn't for the grace of God, God intervened during this situation because a huge storm was brewing. So they started robbing people, and they found a bunch. They came over with metal detector.
Yeah.
And the captain of our boat has hidden some gold on the boat, and they found the gold, and it was a lot of gold. And so they were busy doing that. And then they make people strip off their jewelry. And I remember my mom had sent some jewelry with us, some gold bracelets and necklaces and stuff. And my sister.
Issues, and like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Welcome to hour number 2 on a thankful Thursday. Thankful Thursday. I'm thankful for you, JP. Thank you very much.
I'm thankful for you.
I would be doubly thankful if you played the sound effect again. Why not? Let's do it. Let's hit it.
You got to be more thankful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
We thank you so much for this bountiful harvest of Domino's, KFC, and always delicious Taco Bell.
Have you said thank you once?
Thank you. All right, perfect. Hey, listen, we're into second hour right now. I'm wrapping up this first dipper on truth and consequences. Got a few text messages that I'll jump on here momentarily. Let's see what we got. Sandy from Harvest says, thank you, Colonel. Great monologue on truth. No one should be allowed to make up their own version. If you don't know it, read God's word. Thank you, Sandy. Appreciate you, man. Nofre from Lexington. Nofre says LGBTQ flags are lowered at half staff for Jimmy Kimmel. He says, thanks for the newsletter. You're welcome. Oh, wow. Danny from Madison says, Hank Jr. from Monday Night Football. About what? What are we talking about?
Somebody who got canceled, I assume.
No. Wow.
I actually don't remember that. He did the Monday night song.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah, he was replaced by, was it Carrie Underwood, or she's Sunday night?
I don't know.
He was replaced by somebody, but yeah, I do remember that now. Actually, wow.
Joe in Tennessee says, as an Alabama fan here in what's he call us?
Hockey Squad, Tennessee.
Hockey Squad, Tennessee. Is that voice texting, or is that was anyway? He said, I hate that Caitlin Collins graduated from the University of Alabama. She's a Pocahontas clone and a future childless cat lady with an IQ less than 90. Wow, yeah. Joe, don't beat around the bush, man. Tell us how you feel.
As we called her on the Dale Jackson show, Alabama's biggest disappointment. But Joe Scarborough is also there because he graduated. He got his law degree from Alabama.
Did he really?
Yeah. So it's unfortunate.
It's amazing the number of connections. Like Laura Ingram's got a daughter at Alabama, I think, and doesn't Bongino have one at Auburn?
He does, yeah.
Yeah. Sean from Elkmont just says, stay in your lane. Okay.
I think he's talking about Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel. Gotcha. All right. Hey, so listen, Jimmy Kimmel, where did he screw up? A lot of ways. So here's the thing. Jimmy Kimmel got his start as a comedian, right? Allegedly funny. I don't remember seeing a single stand-up routine. I'm not saying there weren't. I'm just saying I don't recall like being a fan of Jimmy Kimmel. But, that doesn't mean anything. I just saying he's out there. He's a comedian. Comedians make their living being good at 3 things, all of which have to be in play. It's content, it's timing, and it's delivery. And the other night he failed on all 3. The content sucked. The timing was awful. And the delivery was exponentially bad. And then all that to say, ABC had to make a decision. I've got a piece here. So Disney is the parent company. ABC is the network. And then you have multiple affiliates. Like in this particular case, the article points out from Fox News, Nexstar Media Group owns hundreds of television stations that are ABC affiliates. And they all announced, Nexstar did. Nexstar announced that it would preempt Kimmel's show for the foreseeable future, replacing it with other programming. They weren't doing it. They're done with this. Well, so Brendan Carr is the FCC chairman. And Brendan Carr was very clear. He came out and said, look, you know what? These are the airwaves, and there are standards, and there are licenses. And the left is having a complete come apart right now. I'm looking up on the screen as the FCC is pressured over Kirk comments, and they're talking about how Trump is saying he's gonna wind up, having licenses pulled. If the license gets pulled, it's only because it was lost. If there's a violation, that's what matters. It's not because Trump doesn't like it. It's because you did something that is apparently against the regulations that govern the licensure under the FCC. It's not the same as an internet-based podcast. It's not the same as someone who is doing something like running a website with conspiracy theories on it. There's a lot of places where you can say the things you want to say and get away with it. Go on Substack and do that if you want to. Go out there and find your niche, find your place. But guess what? If you're going to be on one of the major networks and you are licensed by the FCC, they are supposed to say something. That's their role. And we may be, one of those organizations like we are right here that's sort of, against the idea of big government, but there's still this thing called the law. And if the law says you have to be licensed in order to do what you do, and then you violate the terms of your licensure, guess what? Problem. But the other thing is you've also got the network looking at a potential loss because they know that advertisers and network affiliates and viewers actually matter. And if you're going to have a guy on the air that just offends all three in one whack because his timing, his delivery, and his content sucked, guess what? You got to make a business decision. It's the same as Bud Light pulling Dylan Mulvaney's face off the can. They realized what it was going to do to them. It's the same as Cracker Barrel, realizing that they had just angered their base and they better pull back from the abyss before they change the logo completely and redo all the restaurants. It's the same thing. Jimmy Kimmel got out there, hosed the network, and they said, you're done. Now, the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, did an interview with Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson, a prolific podcaster, huge following online. Here's a bit of the interview with Benny Johnson and FCC chairman Brendan Carr about Jimmy Kimmel. Go ahead.
At the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. As you've indicated, there are avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful because we could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up. But I don't think this is an isolated incident. I mean, you go back to Representative Swalwell, and he had a tweet out last week where he was saying that, emphasizing that Charlie Kirk's killer was a straight white male from a Republican family that voted for Donald Trump. In some quarters, there's a very concerted effort to try to lie to the American people about the nature, as you indicate, of one of the most significant, newsworthy public interest acts that we've seen in a long time. And what appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into that narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican motivated person. If that's what happened here with his conduct, that is really, really sick. And I've been very clear from the moment that I have become chairman of the FCC, I want to reinvigorate the public interest. And what people don't understand is that the broadcasters, and you've gotten this right, are entirely different than people that use other forms of communication. They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. And we can get into some ways that we've been trying to reinvigorate the public interest and some changes that we've seen. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
There, you stop
These
there.
companies,
It's easy way or the hard way. And basically what he said was, hey, ABC, you have a problem. His name is Jimmy Kimmel. This is what he did. We're going to have to lean in on this. And ABC said, never mind, we got it. And they took care of the issue. They mitigated their own damages. They recognized they had themselves a Dylan Mulvaney moment brewing. They realized that they could not sit still on this and go, it'll be okay by tomorrow. Don't worry, it'll blow over. No big deal. It was a big deal. If he had waited 2 or 3 months and made some kind of a crack about, people revering Charlie Kirk or something and something snide and then laughed it off like it was a joke, it would have been all right. I guess it would have been crass, but it would have gone on over. But he's in the middle of the hurt and the grief. This is like showing up at the funeral and having bad things to say about the person who died. And it just makes no sense whatsoever. It was untimely. It was crap content. It was not designed to be anything else but a version of the truth they want the narrative to resort to. And it wasn't funny whatsoever. It wasn't intended to be funny, in my opinion. Go ahead.
Well, and the FCC chair said this, it may have been in the Benny Johnson interview or another one, but the ABC networks nationwide that aren't in LA, in New York, in Chicago, the places in small town Illinois, small town Nebraska, small town Alabama, the ones that actually were very much hurt by Charlie Kirk's death and are still processing it, But Jimmy Kimmel is going to come on their TV at night and is going to mock it openly in front of them, claim that he was MAGA, spew all this nonsense. The lower networks need to be in a position that can dictate what's on their small market TVs. So like the bottom up sort of mentality of you're not going to nationwide broadcast your ideologies when these small market, stations or, whoever broadcasts it, their listeners don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So it's the claims that it's an infringement on free speech is completely nonsense.
Totally. All right, listen, we're going to wrap that. That's the Truth and Consequences segment, Dipper number 1. We'll come back after this break, take a few text messages, and jump on into Dipper number 2. Coming up soon, Butters and Lee, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I actually strip them off of us, and we would stuff them in our mouths just to hide from the pirates. So that was saved. But they found a lot of gold from the captain that they didn't want to bother with the people too much. And even while they were robbing us, there was this huge storm brewing really fast, and they wanted to get out of there.
Sometimes God calms a storm, and sometimes he brings a storm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the storm was brewing really fast, and they were trying to rob us really fast, so they didn't search everybody.
So you got to keep your...
So my family got to keep ours.
Wow.
Jewelry. But that storm got them out of there. And their plan was they disabled our engine and threw some of our provision overboard. So they think that someone's going to capsize our little boat.
They disabled the engine, left the boat as adrift?
Yes.
Okay.
So they were hoping that storm would capsize our boat and kill all of us. So they don't have to do the killing themselves. We believe that is their plan. But that storm, if they didn't capsize our boat, that they were hoping we would be floating in the South China Sea, starved to death because they disabled our engine. We couldn't go anywhere.
How long did you stay adrift after that?
Several days.
Wow.
Several days adrift. And that storm actually carried us to Indonesia, closer to Indonesia.
Which is where you wound up.
Yes.
In a refugee camp, am I right?
Yes. So the Indonesians saw a boat, and they came out, and they helped us.
That's an amazing circumstance.
Yeah, exactly. God just intervened.
How about that?
I believe that with all my heart.
Well, I believe it with you. So you got to Indonesia, and at this point, I mean, this has been a journey already, but you're not through.
No.
And now you go into a refugee camp that I saw one of your speeches, and it sounds like it was not really a well-established camp when you first got there. It was more like survival. Am I right?
Right. We were the second boat that arrived on that refugee camp.
Okay.
There was one other Vietnamese refugee boat there already. But every day, more refugees arrive on this island, and there was nothing on this island. There were not even shelter for us. Food was really scarce. There was still a little bit of food that we brought with us, and we ate what we had. And then we start eating things that we can found on the island. If you're lucky, you can catch fish out of the sea. But we ended up, I remember eating things like snails and trying to find leaves and barks and grubs that I ended up eating.
I heard you say on one speech that you could go on the show Survivor and do really well.
Yes, I think I can. I really can.
There's big money in that. Well, but as a kid, so you're only 12 years old, and now you're eating grubs and making your own shelter, and you and your extended family are among how many people in this camp?
Well, like I said, thousands of people. I think it was estimated about almost half a million refugees by the time that camp closed.
Wow. Who was running the camp? Was there an organized agency that was helping assist the camp, or was it just makeshift?
Not yet. We were there for several months before the international organization found that there were refugees there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what organizations wound up coming to your aid at some point?
It was CARE International.
CARE, yeah.
And World Vision.
Okay.
The Catholic, I think some Catholic church organization.
Red Cross or UN, did they show up at all?
I can't remember I just remember CARE, care, and I remember War Vision.
Well, so.
Oh, and I do remember there was a ship that parked right outside of our camp eventually after several months, and it's called Sea Swift or something like that.
One of the Mercy ships at a hospital?
It's kind of like the Mercy ship because there were doctor and nurses that come in every day from the ship, and they made a little hut-like, little makeshift hospital there for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Mercy ship.
Well, so once the aid organizations began coming in, and realized you're still in a refugee camp, so everything's very relative. But did life improve? I mean, did you have food? Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, life did improve. They brought in a lot of medicine for. Oh, that's another thing. There were people that start dying of dysentery.
Oh yeah.
If you're not dying of starvation, you die of dysentery.
I had dysentery in Afghanistan, and it's not fun.
Oh my gosh, that's what I had in the refugee.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just pulling pins on truth grenades. That's what we're doing. Penny from Athens checking in the text line says, what I'm wondering is how in the world did Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla do the Man Show together? Adam Carolla is a conservative. Well, Adam Carolla is not actually a true conservative. He has some conservative viewpoints, but he's made very clear. He does stuff with Dennis Prager and things like. But Adam Carolla is not himself he's more of a libertarian / liberal, if you get down to it.
What's funny is that the left has gone so far to the left that people who were centrist / left leaning like 5 years ago are now conservative, far right, MAGA.
I know.
Like Joe Rogan. It's like Joe Rogan voted for Bernie Sanders. Like Joe Rogan is not a conservative, but now Joe Rogan is seen by the left as some far right conservative. That's not the case at all.
Wow, it is true. It is absolutely true. Brad from Limestone County says, there's a buck snort, Tennessee. What are we talking about?
This is when the other guy, Joe in Tennessee, said he's from Hockey Squat Turtersea.
What? Okay.
I think that was Joe in Tennessee mocking Rocky Top, Tennessee, is what I think it was.
Gotcha. Now I understand what's happening. All right. He says, no, my spell checker did not let me down. That's his name. I'm aware I think there is a buck snort, Tennessee. I am familiar. We have quite a few unusual names right here in Alabama as well. So I have no doubt.
Walnut Grove.
Walnut Grove's not unusual. I love the same name.
I love it too. But I mean, I do think it's not a common city name, Walnut Grove.
No, but I mean, I don't find that one to be off-putting.
Not off-putting, but it's unusual.
Buck snort's a little odd.
Buck snorts is odd, yeah.
We have some other good ones. In fact, there's some in our text line. I forgot that I actually even questioned one of them. That's not real, and it was. Jeff from Indiana says, Phil, the next time you're on CNN, you need to use that technique on them. Of course, I'm not sure they would figure out what to do except filibuster. Yeah, I agree. Once they're on the camera, they're trying to go at it because they don't know what else to do. But it still works. It still works, man. You just call them out. All right, we got a couple minutes here. I don't want to start a new dipper because we're going to wind up going straight to Butters and Lee. Sandy from Harvest says, oh, by the way, there's Nectar, Alabama. That's true.
Never heard of that.
There's also an Op, Alabama. There's Op, O-P-P, Op. And then there's Arab. It's spelled Arab, but it's pronounced Arab. Just saying. You had something over there on the social media commentaries. What'd you have?
This is a funny one. We got Terry McKay from Decatur, strolling in Tennessee. She said, the Dems remind me of the lyrics of two songs by heart. The mild ones are You're So in Vain and the vicious lyrics of Barracuda.
Now, You're So Vain was Carly Simon, wasn't it?
I don't know.
But yes, okay.
It was. You're So Vain was Carly Simon.
Yeah. But even still, that's good. Terry, thanks for the input. Appreciate you. And then Jeff from Indiana just chimed in again and says, hey, Phil, I just live down the road from Santa Claus, Indiana and French Lick. There's that. All right, listen, coming up in a minute, we're going to have some Butters and Lee on here, and it's question and answer time. You know how that works. So we're going to have our two friends, Butters and the Lee, on here, and I hit them with questions, and they hit me with questions, but it should be good. All that to say, you guys send us your stuff. All right. Tell us what you're thinking. Jimmy Kimmel, one of the things that I'm going to be talking to Butters and Lee about, let's go ahead and give you a prelude, was this a First Amendment thing? Can you argue that effectively? Or was this just an employment issue thing? And I think we all kind of know where the answer is going, but it's certainly right now what the left is screaming. It's a First Amendment. Isn't it funny how it's the First Amendment when it suits their narrative? Roger from Madison says, by the way, don't forget Slap Out, Alabama. Oh, yeah. Slap Out.
What?
It's a place. Look,
I've lived in Alabama my whole life.
Slap Out.
I've never heard of Slap Out, Alabama.
Slap Out, Alabama. And Op, Alabama. Op, O-P-P. Op, Alabama. Slap Out. Look up Slap Out. All one word.
One.
What county is that in? Does it say?
Well, it says Holtville, Alabama. Also Slap Out. So I guess Slap Out and Holtville, they share the same city name.
Up in Cherokee County, they got Broomtown.
Elmore County is where Slap Out is.
Okay. Up yonder in the northern reaches, almost on the Cherokee/Georgia line is Broomtown, Alabama. Adam from Athens says, I still love my hometown of Lick Skillet, Alabama.
Yeah, that's a good one.
By the way, how hungry do you have to be to lick the skillet? Apparently pretty hungry.
Pretty hungry.
Dave from Monrovia says that too. Lick Skillet, Alabama. Yes, indeed. JT Lacey Springs says, as to regulations of the airwaves, though, without FCC oversight, for example, there would not be the bleep button. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. Like, we got a dump button. If somebody comes on here and says something crazy that doesn't comply with FCC, like, people act like the FCC is just there to just be there and doesn't enforce anything. So is it an infringement on free speech if somebody wants to come on the radio show and say cuss words like, oh, that's infringement of free speech from the FCC? It's overreach. It's not how it works.
Not how it works. And oh, by the way, I'm pretty sure that part of this is because they are an open air network, because you can see, excuse me, you can see multiple times how people get on like paid subscriber networks like HBO or whatever else, and you can see and say anything you want to almost.
Yeah, like the UFC pay-per-views, the commentators say, words they wouldn't be able to say, because it's pay-per-view, like the pay for subscription stuff is different rules. But if you're on the FCC, purview, you got to abide by their rules.
Absolutely. Matt in Madison says, I remember when my mother would tell me you can, I guess he's trying to say, you can say anything you want. You can always suffer the consequences. Yeah, that's true. And then Connor from Huntsville says, Phil, this is Connor. There's a Guin as spelled in Ewan, Alabama, but then there's the GU-IN Alabama. I guess everybody has a difference of opinion. Okay. And then Rough Leanne comes in and says, Walnut Grove was a fictional town, a little house on the prairie. Yes, it was, but it's also in Etowah County, and it's a great place.
I go through it on my way home.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Right before you get to Sneed.
Yep.
It's past the turnoff to Altoona and halfway to Sneed.
Which my family grew up in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and I was just up there the other day, and there's an Altoona, Alabama too.
And then Lisa from Huntsville says, as a proud graduate of Andalusia High School, OP was our big rival. We always said OP was 2/3 of P. 2/3 P? 2/3 P. I know. He says, keep your day job. Thank you, Lisa. All right, listen, we're taking a break. We're coming right back. Butters and Lee, y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
Almost die. I really thought I was going to die, honestly. In the refugee, I had dysentery so bad. But eventually they came in, they brought medication for all of us and food, lots of food.
In fact, now that you say that, I remember one of your speeches, you said to this day, you still get a hankering for Spam once in a while because they brought Spam.
Yes, yes. That's where I learned how to eat Spam, yes. We still have Spam. Right now in our pantry, we always have Spam.
Well, it's funny what sticks with you like that. So you're in this refugee camp. Living conditions may have gotten somewhat improved, but you're still not in a good place. Is your family still intact? Everybody's still together?
Everybody's still together. And one of my uncle who serves in the Navy for the South Vietnamese Navy. So because he served, he get to pick what country to immigrate to.
Okay.
And of course, we picked the United States of America. Everybody wanted to come here.
Yeah.
This is the place.
Was it? And let me ask you about that, because, in my time overseas and in my time in Afghanistan, I actually lived among the Afghan people for a year, and it's amazing, people who have never been to America still have an idealized version of what's here.
Yeah.
So you had never seen America, but you had seen Americans, I guess, during the Vietnamese War.
I have never had no.
So you had no interaction with Americans before.
Mm-hmm.
What was the never having seen it? What was the mental image you had of America?
Cold.
It was cold?
Yes.
Okay.
What I remember as a little kid, always hearing that America is so cold.
Okay.
And even when we were in refugee camp and getting ready to come here to America, whatever money left, my aunt and uncle left, they brought us wool sweaters to come to America.
They hadn't been to the South.
No. And it was July when we came, and we wore high neck, 100% wool sweater arriving to Huntsville International Airport.
What did you imagine about life in America before you ever got here? What was your did you have certain things you expected to see or you couldn't wait to see? Or
I could imagine, because my life before coming is, we had French things like cheese and butter and champagne, all that, and I thought, and we've always heard that America is even better than that. So as a little kid, I think about living in a castle, living in places, that has carpet, and I don't know. It's just like a fairy tale, I guess. As a little kid, I just thinking America is like a fairy tale story.
Well, so the day came when you found out there was a sponsor in Athens, Alabama, of all places.
Athens, Alabama.
That was willing to sponsor a family from the camp.
Yes.
How did it turn out to be your family, and what was that like?
I think it was the Van Kirks of Athens. Mrs. Van Kirk was a Catholic, and there was a nun that came to her St. Paul Church and spoke on the plight of the refugee people, and said, well, they need sponsor. They need to get out of the camp. They need sponsor. And it just really touched her heart. And that's when she and her husband decided to sponsor a family. And the Catholic Church placed our family with her family.
Did they have any limits, like we can only take 4, or did they say we'll sponsor whatever they consider to be their family and we'll take the whole thing?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I never asked her that question, and now she has long passed away.
So who notified you in the camp that you were going to be going to America?
It was one of the organization. I guess it's the Catholic organization.
Well, all right. So how did you come to America? By boat? By plane? What happened?
By plane.
Okay.
Yeah. We when
Is that
we
the first
left,
time you ever flew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we left the original camp and moved to another bigger camp.
Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Man, just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. That's just radio, by the way. Lots of space on radio. Tons of y'all, too, out there in the whole wide world, going to the World Wide Web and live streaming the show. So thank you for that. And then, by the way, there's a ton of y'all that podcast the show. No matter where you catch the show, we just want you to know how much we appreciate it. Y'all are awesome. You are the reason why we do what we do. So thank you very much. All right, listen, I got a thing we do every single Thursday. We bring in 2 people who we're thankful for, because it's Thankful Thursday. We bring in 2 people we're thankful for, and we round up some questions, hit some opinions, and find out what the discourse is all about. So let me just call the roll. I'm looking northward right now, the dynamic diva of dilatory discourse. That would be, yes, indeed, the Lee from Huntsville. Are you there?
I'm here.
You are. We're glad. We're thankful. All right, so then I go ahead and I look closer to home, but yet he's still online, and that would be the man who says, "Go Navy, beat Army." Butterman, are you there?
I am.
You are indeed.
Go Navy, beat Army.
There he is. All right, I pronounce it. We got a quorum. Hit me some whoop whoops. All right, you guys, y'all know the deal. We ask the questions and then we flip the script later and y'all ask the questions. So here we go. I'm going to keep the same theme going that we've had for the beginning of the show, since the beginning of the show. Jimmy Kimmel apparently lost his gig last night. Lost it big time. Like, it's gone. We don't know if he'll ever come back. He may. His career will go somewhere. But bottom line is, Jimmy Kimmel lost his show after intentionally saying some things about Charlie Kirk's murder that were not even true. So my question to you is this a First Amendment infringement, or is he just getting the deserved employment consequences that come with his actions? Lee, you first.
I think everybody's missing here is just because you have First Amendment speech doesn't mean there won't be any consequences for what you say.
Yeah.
It does. It just means you're not going to jail for what you say. It means you're not getting thrown in the gulag. What he did was repeat completely nonsense information that he knew was not true. And that's a rule of propaganda. You have to keep repeating a lie and repeat it often. And then people have a hard time then just cognitive dissonance thinking, oh, wait, that's not true because I've heard it so many times. And the left understands this well, and so does the media. So, no, it's not a First Amendment right unless someone's thrown him in jail that I don't know about. And second, he didn't deserve that job. He got paid millions. And ABC was wise to pull him because they've awakened the sleeping giant. That's what the death of Charlie has done.
Yeah.
It's awakened people that have never cared before. And I think that ABC is starting to get it. You want to keep what you have at all. You want to keep these people subscribing to Disney. You want to keep them subscribing to everything. You better make some quick changes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you before I jump into more of my own opinions, I'll go with Butters. Your thoughts, Butters, man. Is this a First Amendment issue or is it just a consequence issue?
Even back when they were doing it to conservatives, it was never a First Amendment issue. Free businesses have the right to handle such issues the way they want to.
Yeah.
It does. I guess it makes me long for the 20 minutes ago when we all just existed in a world where we really didn't care what companies thought about their political opinions and what they stood for, and we just liked the products. I kind of wish we could go back to those days when, okay, whatever, just
we didn't start
us.
that though. The left is getting eaten by its own destruction machine.
Exactly. They kind of opened up the can, and so now we'll see where it goes.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, both of you. And I look at this and think, if you get down to it, this is just like the TV version of the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light can. They realized they had a bad thing happening, and they've seen what happened to Bud Light. They saw what happened to Cracker Barrel, and they weren't about to let themselves get all the way down that road before it was too late. They didn't want to be the new Coke formula that no one wanted to drink. So all said and done, I think they were just averting a further crisis by making a business level decision. And the fact is, the left doesn't like it. But the left was willing to cancel Gina Carano on The Mandalorian. The left was willing to pull Roseanne Barr completely off her own show that was named after her, which is so weird, and pretend that she died. And next thing you know, the staff's back and the cast is back, and they're pretending like mom died in the last episode and no one realized it. And it just the whole thing made no sense. And you can go on and on and on. Mike Lindell losing, all kinds of stores wouldn't carry his pillows anymore. And now all of a sudden, they're seeing Jimmy Kimmel and they're seeing Stephen Colbert, and they're like, what's happening? I'll tell you what's happening. There's a new sheriff in town, and it's kind of caught up to you.
Well, and I will say, assuming this is the world we live in now, that this is how we're going to do business, that, when the tide turns again, that we on the right don't we need to not get mad because companies, try to do something like this, and we don't like it because they're against us, and we just don't do business with them and we move on with our lives. That seems like the best way to handle all of it.
Yeah. I mean, what do? We just quit buying Bud Light. Market forces took over.
Hold on now. There is the fact that the leftist propaganda went all the way at the top, and companies like BlackRock and others were penalizing companies, and they were not able to get loans and not able to get certain things.
Oh yeah.
because they didn't have the DEI score, or they were using social credit to shape these companies and force it. And
That's a
the
great
head,
point.
I think it was BlackRock, I can't remember, actually said we're going to have to force them. So I'm just saying, keep in mind, people, this goes all the way up.
Yeah, that's a great point. The whole ESG scoring, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah,
that's a bit different, and a whole other thing to unpack from. We're firing some people, or people are getting fired because a bunch of free market people speak out and they realize this is not a good business move. But yeah, you're spot on. There's some really bad stuff going on there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think Kimmel will have a podcast real soon. He and Stephen Colbert will team up online somewhere, and they'll make millions, and they'll say whatever they want to, and they'll play the victim card, and we'll see what happens. All right. Next question before I run out of time. I got about 4.5 minutes here. So I don't know if y'all saw the story. Auburn University, and this is kind of in the wake of the Charlie Kirk shooting also, not kind of, it is. In the wake of the Charlie Kirk shooting, there's a staffer, I think he worked in the library or something at Auburn University, who was a drag queen by night, a LGBTQ activist on campus, and made some really super disparaging remarks online about Charlie Kirk right after he was shot. It's kind of crowing about it, basically. It turns out that this dude, the drag queen dude, was actually the same drag queen dude who used to work at Drake Middle School down in East Alabama. And I think it was 1819 News that pointed out that he was out there on his own podcast crowing about how he was using his time as a middle school teacher to interject his LGBTQ lifestyles with kids. So he was forced to resign from middle school, and then Auburn hired him anyway, and now has had to fire him again. So your thoughts, why was Auburn willing to hire this guy knowing what his track record was to work with kids who are only a few years older? Butters, you first.
Well, even as conservative as we think the state of Alabama is, it's a higher education. So I'm going to be hopeful and optimistic that this is just another piece of the process of fixing some of the issues, the hiring practices and the considerations, and that this is going to get cleaned up in time, and there'll be more instances like this where we go, what really? But it is kind of crazy the 1819 article said they ended up putting them into the library at Auburn.
Yeah.
Eventually,
what?
I don't. Maybe they were just scared to fire him because he was clearly willing to play whatever card he could play as whatever he identifies as, and
use students in the process.
That
he had such pure judgment. He was willing to do this with minors and then crow about it and then lose his job. And Auburn hired him anyway. Lee, jump in.
Well, our universities are cesspools of leftist degeneracy to begin with. Putting him in the library, no surprise. Library, even more of a degenerate area. Drag queens, library, they just kind of go together. But what I'm saying is, this guy, Auburn put out a statement which made me laugh, talking about how that they'd come to their attention that what he had done was completely at odds with Auburn's values. Really?
Why'd you hire him? That's right.
Why did you hire a guy who's an obvious degenerate and then get shocked when he does degenerate things? I don't feel sorry for them at all, and I think this is a stain and representative of how misguided and virtue signaling they're hiring him.
I think it's also, he was hired in the height of the DEI this mantra where they were literally everything was DEI. Got to have more DEI. What can we do to promote DEI? How can we look like we're virtue? Say, I know. Let's hire a guy who screams transgenderism and does drag queens and is willing to inflict that upon middle school kids. That's a great idea. That'll check a few DEI boxes all at one time. And they did. It was like DEI was like a just complete abandonment of all inhibition. And next thing you know, they're having to fire the guy again. It's nuts. It's embarrassing.
Not a surprise.
Well,
it was crazy to me way back 25 years ago now when I was at Auburn and had an English professor first day of class, as I sit there in uniform as a ROTC midshipman, all right, this quarter, don't write anything about your religion, and I don't want to hear about military stuff. And you're like, you do realize you're at Auburn University in Auburn, Alabama. But so, I don't know why they'd want to go work at Auburn anyways, but
no kidding. And there you were in uniform while he's saying this.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. That's good stuff. All right. That's round one, Butters and Lee. We'll take a break right now. We'll come right back. And this is where we flip the script and they just ask me questions and I hope I have an answer. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
And there we were examined by the doctors and x-ray our lung to make sure we don't have TB. Some of us did have TB, and so it took a little bit longer to be on medication to get rid of it before we came to America. So we were there 3-4 months there on medications and make sure that we're healthy before we entered the U.S. So, and then we flew to Singapore. No, they took us to Singapore by boat, and we stayed there another week behind an enclosed camp there just to get us ready to come to America. And then there we flew to Seattle, Washington. That was the gateway.
Okay.
And then from there to Dallas, I think, and then Dallas to Huntsville International Airport.
So what was your first impression of the real America? I mean, what's the first thing that you like looking back on it, what was the first thing that really struck you? I am in America. What did you see or hear or smell or feel?
Airport.
The airport? Okay.
And there was this lady at the airport walking around with a basket of big red, delicious apples. And I remember the smell of the apple and the look of the apple. We get apple in Vietnam, but they're all bruised and everything because they ship from somewhere, But this was like so perfect. And I'm thinking, America is going to be like that red, delicious apple.
Wow.
Everything is perfect. Everything smells so good. That was my first impression of America.
It's again, it's one of those things where I think sometimes we take for granted where we are.
Mm-hmm.
It is way too easy for Americans, having always lived in the first world,
Mm-hmm.
to really appreciate what we have until you go somewhere and realize what they don't have.
Yeah.
But you came from just the opposite. You came from a period of time where your family had everything, then you lost everything and had literally nothing, and now you're here.
Yeah.
And red apples made a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally, I don't think we even have a penny to our name when we came to America. We have nothing left.
Well, that brings up a point. So you came to America, but then what? I mean, so did they give you a job, a house? So now what? You've been sponsored, but what does that mean?
Yeah. So when we got to Athens, Alabama, the community of Athens and our sponsor provide us an apartment, a furnished apartment. And I remember seeing it for the first time. I remember take my shoes off and feel that carpet under my feet. It was so luxurious.
Wow.
And having flush toilet.
Oh, wow.
We didn't have to squat
to
use the toilet. Running water, washer and dryer, soft beds. I remember open that refrigerator that was full of food.
Oh, they stocked the refrigerator for you too.
Yes. I remember seeing chicken in there that I didn't have to chase after, killed and plugged and cleaned.
Wow.
And gosh, I remember that bed was so soft that even one of my cousin, the boy, he was just 3 years old. And because he's got used to sleeping on the hard floor in the refugee camp, that he couldn't handle the soft bed. So every morning we would go wake him up. He'd be sleeping on the floor next to the bed.
Wow.
A different family come every single week to take us to the store, to take us to the health department, to take us to the dentist, enroll us kids in school, They came with taught us English.
So they didn't just sponsor your trip; they
No.
sponsored your family to live.
Yes.
Wow.
To help us be successful.
Was this out of one church, or was this a group of friends? What was this?
It was that family, and they included their friends and church, 2 churches. Mr. Van Kirk was a Presbyterian. Mrs. Van Kirk was a Catholic. So they had 2 churches involved.
Okay.
And then, of course, their family and their friends also. So I've always, it was not like a government program. It was just the people in the community rallying together to help this refugee family. And I tell you, we would not be a successful family if it wasn't for the community of Athens. I mean,
I think you just nailed something too. You know, in communism, the government does everything.
yes.
What?
Yes.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just, I mean, like, man, oh man, making common sense like a superpower. Round 2 of Butters and Lee, bringing them back on the screens here. So this is a section where we flip the script. They ask me questions. I don't know what's coming. I just wait and see. Butters, you first. What you got?
Well, something that I think I'm gonna lighten the mood just a hair, but something quintessential to America. Today is National Cheeseburger Day.
I'm for that.
So what's your favorite cheeseburger meal?
What's my favorite
as a red-blooded
cheeseburger
American
meal?
Your favorite cheeseburger meal?
You mean like where would I go to get the cheeseburger, or what do I want with my cheeseburger?
When I throw that question out, what hits you? What makes you hungry?
I do have to say, the other night, Charlene and I were driving back from Huntsville, and we decided to pull into. I'm going to have to go ahead. I have to name a brand now. You see what you've done. They're getting free advertising. Culver's has an outstanding burger. So as in terms of a fast food place, Culver's has an outstanding burger. Now, I will tell you that the most unreal cheeseburger I ever had was down in Tampa, Florida, at a one-off place in, I think they call it Little Cuba or Little Havana, a section of town. And you go to this place and they ask you what you want on your burger, right? And it's first of all, it's all handmade patties, and they're huge. I mean, like not a little bit, like the size of a softball. And then they ask what else you want on it. Everything, you can add all the things. And then they wrap the whole thing in dough, and they cook it all together, and it comes out looking like a football, like about the size of a small football. And it is all burger baked in dough. Everything you wanted already is in there with it. And when you take a bite in it, it runs all over your face, and it may be the best cheeseburger I've ever had in my life. Just saying.
Man, why do we not have that in Alabama?
I don't know, but we could do it. We could do it right here. We could just make our own. I'm just thinking, why don't we do this? This is a thing. It was dynamic.
I just saw that, and I'm actually gonna fix some cheeseburgers. I've gotten into the smash burgers on the Blackstone, and it's hard to go back to a regular burger.
I am like super hungry right now.
But
give me a side of tater tots, and I'm a happy man.
Yeah, all the heaviness of the last week or so, I just it's nice to think about something a little more filling.
Although I will say this, I did have quite the disappointment the other night. I was driving home from Huntsville on another trip there, and it was late at night, and I was thinking I need a snack. It's like a super late. I say they were still open, so it was like close to 10 o'clock, and Sonic was still open. I love tater tots. I pulled into tater tots. Apparently, I got the leftovers, because when I got my tater tots, let's go ahead and say it. Tater tots are not supposed to be chewy. They're not. So when you bite into it, and it's like you got potato flavored bubble gum, something's wrong. So that was an awful experience.
I did the Burger 101 right here in Gadsden.
Oh, that's good.
It's got the sweet potato tots.
See,
those are hard to pass up.
Oh, Lee, we got to go to your question before I run out of time. I could talk about food all day long. So, Lee, what's your question for me?
Well, first of all, it's Bad Daddy's Magic Mushroom Burger with sweet potato fries. That is mine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's mushrooms and Swiss. It's delicious. So my question is, with you've noticed like Candace and Tucker and a lot of them are starting to make statements and talk about Charlie's mind changing on things and trying to seems to me horn in or grift on the grief and the anger and the action of what's happening. I wonder what you thought about some of that, because I find it highly insulting to discuss someone's personal faith that's not been released.
Can I ask you real quick? Just, you don't have to say exactly what they said, but what do you mean? What are they saying? What kind of things are they saying do you think is horning in on his space?
Oh, well, they're talking about how he was changing his mind on Israel and he was turning on Bibi. And Candace says he was on the brink of transitioning to Catholicism, which he has never said that. If anything, he has always said that he is non-denominational. He's and I just don't understand why they're trying to push that. I don't get it.
I don't know. I mean, everybody wants to have their narrative and show how much they knew Charlie. Here's how much I knew him. I knew him because we had this insider conversation that no one else could have possibly had. And as a lawyer, I'll tell you that hearsay is not admissible. It's the thing. You cannot say what another person not present allegedly said to you unless there's a means of verifying what they said. And there are certain ways you can get around that, but for the most part, hearsay has very few exceptions. If you're going to try and insert someone else's dialogue as some kind of testimony, it's typically not admissible. I look at this and go, I don't know, man. Why would you go there? How about this? We have what Charlie said. It is so recorded. I mean, the man was an open book, and it is between podcasting, news appearances, public speaking, video testimonials, his own books that are published all over the place. There's no way in the world someone could say, well, he was really thinking this. Well, how about this? We have the actual evidence. The admissible evidence is before us. And for you to try to change that narrative is a rather disingenuous, and we can't give it credit unless, there is some means of proving otherwise. What you got, Butters?
It should have been up to his wife. It should have been up to his wife to release anything like that if she chose to.
Yeah.
I find it distasteful.
Yeah. 30 seconds, guys.
I could
What you got,
see
Butters?
some concern before his wife was announced as the new CEO coming in. I could see some concern that some shadowy power would try to usurp taking over the
platform,
USA.
Yeah, trying to grab the platform while they could.
Yeah.
Well, I think they put a stop to that real quick because just today, like around the time I went on the air, almost, Erica Kirk is now the new CEO and president of TP USA. All right, you guys, love you both. Thankful for you. That's it. Butters and Lee coming right back. We'll jump on into another dipper, and this time we're going to talk about sowing discord. What did Trump just say about Antifa? I'll tell you. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Here, and it was private citizens who did everything.
That's right.
And they did it out of the joy of their hearts.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
That refrigerator, you talked about that in one of the speeches I watched. You talked about that refrigerator, and you said a few things just now. There was a chicken in there. You didn't have to catch it and pluck it first. But you also talked about one time when you thought you needed to eat some ice cream that was in the freezer.
Yes. So we're, of course, we came from a refugee camp, so food was, you eat everything.
You don't waste anything.
You don't waste anything.
Yeah.
So one day we're just sitting around, looking in the freezer and refrigerator and see what we can try. And we took out this tube of thing that looked like an orange sherbet.
Okay.
And we all took a spoon to get us try this American orange looking sherbet. And we all went, oh my goodness, this tastes terrible. It was so strong. But because we just came from refugee camp, we sat there and ate a whole tube of orange sherbet.
And it wasn't orange sherbet.
No, a few days later, our sponsor, Mrs. Van Kirk, came over and she helped to make breakfast, American breakfast for us. The southern grits and the bacon and the eggs. And she went into the freezer to look for this orange looking sherbet tube. And she couldn't find it, and we told an interpreter that we ate it, and it was horrible. And the interpreter told us that it wasn't sherbet; it was actually orange juice concentrate that we ate.
Oh my gosh, I bet that was strong. That'd take the enamel right off your teeth.
Yeah.
Well, but I think you made a point though. Having come from where you come from, you don't waste anything.
No.
You don't. And I would bet that was more than just food. It was probably everything. Everything had purpose, and everything could be repurposed if necessary. Well, so you just mentioned a minute ago, though, you were working through an interpreter. How was the language barrier? You come to America, it's the land of promise. It's the fairy tale you're talking about. There's a stocked refrigerator and soft beds, but you don't speak the language. So how was that barrier overcome?
Well, there was an interpreter, and her name is Ann, and she show up once in a while to help, interpret. But most of the time, we don't have her. So we just point. A lot of time, we just point at each other or point at things, and there was a lot of smiles. There was a lot of nodding.
Nodding heads.
Yeah. And we just follow them whatever they want us to do. We're just so grateful to their kindness and the community.
Well, and I heard too, you learned to speak Southern American.
I did. 2 syllables to everything. Right?
2 syllables to everything. And one of the things I saw you say a lot of times, you'll say y'all and then laugh about it.
Yes.
Because you grew up in South Vietnam, so it fits.
Exactly. Love the South.
Well, so all right, you're a kid with a language barrier from another country, learning that there's places in the world that you can actually turn on the water and turn on the electricity and and that everything typically works. But you still have to find your way. I mean, at some point, the other people sponsoring you are going to have to say, we need to help you find a job, or we need to help you get in school. So how did life begin to normalize, and when did your family begin to be able to do things without the assistance of others?
Yeah, it was probably, they were with us for at least a couple of years, believe it or not.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
That's the goodness of people right there.
Oh my goodness.
Praise God.
The love that they shown is just unbelievable. Some of them with us, checking in on us, even after a year or two, they were still checking in on us. And and they found jobs for my uncle at Conagra at the chicken plant there in Athens. He started working there and earned some money. And us kids were enrolled in school.
Okay.
And the school was, oh my goodness, they were so loving. I remember my 3rd grade teacher, because I didn't know the language, she had picked a child out the class to follow me everywhere I went to make sure I didn't get lost.
Wow. But you said 3rd grade, but you were probably 13 or 14 years old by now, right?
I was 13, yeah, because I spent 14 months in the refugee camp. At this point, I was near 15.
Because that's usually middle school, almost high school age, but you're in 3rd grade.
Yes.
So I guess they had to do an assessment to find out where you were academically and place you?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you were older than all the kids?
Yes. Yeah.
Did it matter?
No, I'm not. I wasn't any bigger than them, actually. Oh. I was smaller. I was malnourished from the camp, and I was smaller than some of them, actually.
Wow.
And they would, at that time, I don't think they have the ESL
English second language.
Yeah, program yet.
Yeah.
But one of the language teacher pulled me out of class every day for an hour or so and worked with me.
Okay.
On the language. Yeah.
I've seen more than once that in families that come from foreign countries that the children learn the language quicker than the adults.
Absolutely.
Did you become the interpreter for the family?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. My sister and I were. Yeah. Pretty much. My aunt and uncle eventually they learned English, and they both went to Calhoun and earned an associate degree.
Oh, yeah. For those who don't know, it's Calhoun Community College.
Yes.
So that's outstanding. So they were pursuing not just living; they were pursuing like improving their lot in life and doing the. Which is also amazing because I think we have so many Americans that grew up in the first world, they forget the opportunities they have around them.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's what immigrants like me see, that America is full of opportunities. And that's why all immigrants want to come here, because they see those opportunities that we as Americans sometimes miss living here.
Well, so how long were you? Did you stay in a grade level below your age?
No,
throughout?
after third grade, they decided to skip the fourth grade. So I skipped fourth grade and I continued to go to school. And I was 22 when I graduated from high school. From
22.
Athens. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did anybody know that you were 22?
No. No, because at that time you probably could.
And oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 3 on a Thankful Thursday. Thankful Thursday. Hit me some thankful, man.
You got to be more thankful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
We thank you so much for this bountiful harvest of Domino's, KFC, and always delicious Taco Bell.
Have you said thank you once?
Thank you.
There it is. Thank you. Thankful Thursday. All right, listen, we got plenty to be thankful for. We do. And it's been a rough week, I'll be honest. It was this time last week that we were all just kind of wallowing in the news of what was happening with Charlie Kirk and the aftermath. But nonetheless, I will tell you this, there is so much still to be thankful for. And yeah. Hey, by the way, a minute ago, I mentioned this burger. So I got to tell you, I had to go look it up, and I could not remember where it was exactly. I found it. So if you're down in Tampa, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you now. See, now that Butters has got me talking food, the Tampa Bay Brewing Company is what it's called, and it's in a section of town called Ybor City, spelled it Y-B-O-R, Ybor City. I think it's like a Cuban influenced side of town. Really, is my recollection. I've only been there once, but it left an impression. So the Tampa Bay Brewing Company has a burger. It's called the Bomb Burger, as in B-O-M-B, like a bomb. The Bomb Burger. And it literally is they take this huge piece of basically quality hamburger meat. They add onion rings to it. They put all the condiments in there you already want, and they have a special thing called bomb sauce, and they wrap the whole thing in pizza dough and bake that sucker together. And when you get it, it's like, you have to cut it in half to be able to eat it, or you just pick it up and just gnaw on that bad boy. It's like a small football. I mean, picture something the size of a big old grapefruit. And they lay it on your plate, and you're like, good Lord, what is that? It's a Bomb Burger from Tampa Bay Brewing Company. And I'm just telling you, it is pretty cool. So there, I have now decided that I'm gonna have to make a trip to Tampa once again.
I feel like my arteries are clogging up just hearing about it. And I did look up a picture of it. It looks amazing.
It's sloppy good.
It looks amazing.
It's big old sloppy good. Big old sloppy good. Hey, by the way, we were also talking earlier about crazy names for towns.
Yep.
How about I got a list of them here from Parade Magazine. I pulled it up real quick.
Oh, did you?
Big Bottom, Washington.
Big Bottom, Washington.
Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. You got Consequences, New Mexico. Why did you name it that? What happened there that they had to name the thing Consequences, New Mexico?
Well, Breaking Bad was in New Mexico, so maybe that's.
Well, maybe so. Slapneck, Michigan.
Slapneck, Michigan.
Slapneck. I'm pretty sure they had a lot of mosquitoes there, and they Slapneck, Michigan. Then you have Chugwater, Wyoming.
Chugwater.
This is what their names are. You got Bird in the Hand, Pennsylvania. Bird in the Hand. You got, let's see, what's another good one? Burnt Corn, Alabama. I don't know where that is.
Oh.
Where is Burnt Corn,
I don't
Alabama?
know, but I have heard of that.
Burnt Corn, Alabama. Why'd you name the town Burnt Corn? I mean, did you have a bad crop year? Is it all dried up and this place is horrible? We're just going to call it Burnt Corn, Alabama.
It's in between Monroe County and Conecuh County.
Okay, Conecuh
County.
That's where Conecuh sausage comes from.
Conecuh sausage?
Conecuh sausage. And then I will tell you, so Burnt Corn, Alabama. So when I was in Afghanistan, there was a village that I came across that I began to go back to sort of check on because it had been, heavily held by Al Qaeda and Taliban. And we had a lot of reasons to go in and out of there and check security, but we also began to do things to help their lives. It was a mess. but the village was called Dehana de Waran. I still remember this, Dehana de Waran. And one day I'm talking to my interpreter about Dehana de Waran. We'll go back there and check it out. And he goes, sir, you know what that means, right? And I said, what are you talking about? He says, Dehana de Waran. You know what the name means? And I said, no, it means destroyed village. I said, they call themselves Destroyed Village? Yes, sir. That's the name. Like on the map, it's going to say, here, Destroyed Village, Afghanistan. That's what they named it.
That's sad.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's go to the text lines, get a few of those, get caught up before I jump into the next dipper. Jeff from Chattanooga. Appreciate you, Jeff. Says, yes, there is a Burnt Corn Creek crossing on 65 North. Did not know this. Did not know this.
He also sent the first text he sent out above that.
Oh, what did he say that was the first one? He says, thank you. You're brave enough to speak the truth. This reverse racism, and it's okay to punish. Where are we on the same day? That's old. That's an old
Oh,
one.
it is an old text.
It is an old one. But thank you for checking in back in April and again today. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you, man. Joe from Indiana says, that's Joe, not Jeff, but Joe from Indiana. If you want fresh fries and tots, you order them without salt. Well,
what? Come on now.
Now, listen, the bottom line is ain't no salt. These things were they were mummified tater tots that I had that night. It was awful. It was just,
if you're having tater tots or fries without salt, then, I mean, I'm sure if you have a reason to, then sure, but it does not taste better.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think anybody argues that. I think people that have to eat saltless fries are not happy about it.
I like salty fries and tater tots.
Yeah.
Like I put extra salt on them. And I like going to Jack's and asking for a little thing of the yellow salt. Yeah.
Yellow salt.
You can get the yellow salt to ask for it.
Man, it would be so annoying working at Chick-fil-A. Somebody ordered the saltless fries. You'd have to
gosh.
You'd have to make a whole nother batch just for that.
First, you had to clean the bin out.
Yep.
Okay. Do you understand what you asked for, sir? Yes, I do. Thank you. My pleasure. Mike from Athens says there's a Hell, Michigan. Hell, Michigan?
Is it? It's actually Ann Arbor, Michigan, if I remember correctly.
Mike from Muscle Shoals says, Phil, we need a little thankful on Thursdays from Animal House. Thank you. May I have another? That we could have added that in. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, Phil, I add that in.
Brand new texter in the text lines is Kenny from Athens. Kenny from Athens says, how about a bacon donut cheeseburger? Bacon donut cheeseburger.
Oh, gosh. Is this where the donut is the bun?
Holy cow. Says, don't knock it till you try it. A bacon donut cheeseburger. I don't know, man. That's like a heart attack waiting to happen.
Yep.
Michael from Arab says, you got Hogjaw, Alabama. Where's Hogjaw? It's where Arab's city dump is located. Well, that fits. Jeff from Indiana says, you can order them without salt. So they also make you a new. I know they make you a new batch. It's also really, really rude to go in there and say, stop what you're doing, clean out the bins, change the oil, make me some saltless fries. And you have to do it.
I had this one lady come through, and it was at 10
at Chick-fil-A?
At Chick-fil-A, 10 a.m. in the morning, and she asked for fries. I said, ma'am, we're only doing tater tots this morning. It's breakfast food. We don't have fries ready. She goes, I know. And she goes, but one thing I know about Chick-fil-A, they'll do whatever you ask.
Wow.
And I just sit there and smile and be like, okay. Yeah.
Okay. I wish she lives her whole life like that, too.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I think so.
Dave from Capshaw says there's also a Smelly Alabama and a Frog Eye Alabama and a Needmore Alabama and a Brilliant Alabama and a Slick Lizard Alabama. A Slick Lizard Alabama.
Slick Lizard.
Somebody was just really screwing around when they named that one.
Yeah.
Adam from Athens says you need a good smoked venison burger with bacon and pepper jack cheese. You can't get much better than that. Okay, where do I go? Tell me. Scott from Somerville says, do you remember a late night host that showed a picture of George Bush and the crosshairs captioned "Snipers Wanted"? I do not remember that. Who was that one? I don't remember that at all. Edward in Chattanooga checking in, brand new in the text line. Edward, we're glad to have you. Thank you so much. He says it's not a city name near Chattanooga, but we do have a place called Suck Creek, named after a section of the Tennessee River. Enjoy your show up here in Chattanooga. Thank you, man. Last couple before I go to the break, and then I'll come back and jump into some dipper territory. Brad from Limestone County says, I shed no tears for Jimmy Kimmel. Good riddance to him. Haven't watched the late night TV show in years, but I do try to act on principle. He said, it bothers me that the administration used the FCC to pressure ABC. It's the First Amendment. If it protects nothing else, it protects political speech. Add to that the fact that the only thing the FCC is constitutionally authorized to do is disband. I read nothing anywhere in the Constitution about an FCC or any power to control access to frequency bands. So let viewers complain, let the advertisers pull the ad dollars, let ABC make their decisions based on those things and whatever shreds of decency they may still possess. But weaponizing the general government against an entertainer, whether he's named Jimmy Kimmel or Rush Limbaugh, crosses the line. Yeah, and see, Brad, that's what we were asking. That was what we were dialoguing about. And I'll be honest with you, I disagree in this case. The FCC is the one who pointed out that he had crossed the line on FCC regulations. He had uttered something that was a lie, and it was an offensive lie. He asserted it as truth, and he can't do that. It was something that had already been said was just the opposite in real life, and yet he asserted it as truth while on an FCC regulated station. The FCC made it known that they would lean in on this, but the network and the affiliates are saying they made their own decision. They weren't going to let it become their own Bud Light moment. They weren't going to be the other Cracker Barrel. They made their decision just like you said, because they knew what was going to happen and they wanted to get ahead of it. Why would you wait until the advertisers pull your ad dollars? Why would you wait until your ratings go down? If you know it's going to happen, then you're a really bad business person if you could see the tragedy coming and you decide to walk into it first to make sure it's real. So yeah, they made their decision, but they made it based upon business and they knew what was good for their business. Brand new texter on the line is Bill from Madison. Bill, we're glad you're there. He says, our mutual friend from Moms for Liberty events, Riley Gaines, calls it not cancel culture, but consequences culture. That's interesting. She's not wrong. And the last two I'll do, I guess, to see Greg from Madison says, if Kimmel thinks his First Amendment's being violated, he should walk over to his local California district court and file for an injunction. He's in the best venue for that claim, but he doesn't because he knows this is not a First Amendment issue. Perfect. Well said, sir. Jerry from Decatur, by the way, points out we have a Pea Ridge, Alabama. Yes, we do. And there's also an Intercourse, Pennsylvania. Yes, I still can't figure out why they did that. All right, listen. And Matt from Madison says, by the way, you get no salt fries because they make them and then you add the salt. But if you're going to add it later, why would you do that to them? Why? Why would you do that to them? I don't get it. Take me to a break, GP. I need some food. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Coming right back, we'll talk about sowing discord. What's happening with Antifa? Did the president just declare something about them? Apparently it's coming. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
By alcohol.
Well, yeah, probably could. You might have been the best friend.
Yes.
You came from a vastly different culture with a vastly different perspective on life and also maybe a deeper appreciation for what is needed versus what is wanted.
Right.
But then you got into like American junior high and American high school. And did you enjoy high school? Was it fun? Did you do sports or anything? What was it? No.
So we saw the opportunities that was here in America for us, and we knew that we left relatives at home that are struggling.
Yeah.
So I didn't have your typical high school, high schooler that's going to sport and going to doing all these things that high schooler do. And at that time in Athens, every Friday night they would ride around the square in their car, with their music blasting. That was the thing to do. Yeah. I didn't get to do any of that stuff because I was working.
Okay, where'd you work?
So my aunt and uncle, they earned an associate degree from Calhoun Community College, and they both got jobs. And from that, they saved their money enough to buy a Chinese restaurant.
Really?
In Huntsville, which is 30 minutes, about 20 at that time, about 20 minutes drive from Athens.
Okay. Yep.
So they bought the restaurant, and so I worked there, 7 days a week in high school.
All right. So I grew up in Huntsville.
Yeah.
You know that. You know some of my family. We discovered earlier.
Uh-huh.
Where was the restaurant?
It's no longer there.
Okay.
It was a Hong Kong Chinese restaurant on North Parkway before you get to Max Luther.
Yeah. I think I've eaten there.
No way. I might have served you.
You might have. That's crazy.
Yeah. So let's see. It was it was attached to a hotel that has the orange roof.
The orange roof. Yeah.
Oh.
Your husband's over here wanted to say
yeah,
it. Don't worry about it.
I
But
know.
the reality is, so your family had a
gosh.
restaurant and you worked in it. How many days a week did you work there?
7 days.
Oh, so you went to school and worked 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm. I would go to school. After school, I would drive up to Huntsville and work there, waiting tables. And in between waiting tables, I'm doing my homework.
So you've definitely got a work ethic.
Yes.
The restaurant, was where you spent the majority of your free time, which wasn't really free, but was the whole family involved in the restaurant?
Yes. My aunt and uncle, of course, my aunt would quit her job to run the restaurant. My uncles continued to work just to keep the insurance.
Yeah.
And my sister would stay back home to take care of their boys who were still in school. But I helped with the restaurant during the week. And then on the weekend, everybody, the whole family worked. On Friday night, Saturday and Sunday, the whole family worked in the restaurant.
I think the other thing that too often Americans miss, and not everybody, because there's entrepreneurial spirit here.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a great sense of industry in the United States, and there are people that appreciate what we have, but there's also people too often that become complacent and don't realize that sometimes hard work really does pay off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also honoring God. That's a stewardship of what he gave you.
Exactly.
Part of stewarding is even your time.
Right.
The relationships that you had with the sponsors who were with you for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that strikes me, there's a passage, and I've got to think where it is right now, but I think it's in 1 Thessalonians, but it says, because you had become so dear to us, we were content not only to share the gospel with you, but even our very lives as well. Meaning that what you had was a deep relationship with these people. Did that continue even after the first 2 years? Did the families you had seen that sponsored you and helped you, were they still around? Were you still seeing them?
Yeah. We still continue to see some of them. Yeah.
You said something in one of your speeches too about something. I'm jumping around a little bit, but you said something about one of the things that really got you was a Salvation Army angel tree.
Yeah. That first Christmas in America. I was 13.
Okay.
And then my sister, who was 10, 11, and then I have three. My aunt and uncle had 3 boys. They're younger. So that very first Christmas, I woke up, don't understand anything about Christmas.
You grew up Buddhist? Is that right? I think I heard you say that. Yeah.
I grew up, well, my family, Buddhist, but we weren't like practicing Buddhist, religiously or anything like that. I think it was just one of those things that you kind of pass on from your ancestor.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Making common sense like a superpower, by golly. I mean, giving you all the truth you can slap on a bumper sticker. I'm talking about pulling pins on truth grenades. Y'all, I'm talking about saving the world one soundbite at a time. All of them. All of it. All at one time. So my next dipper is called Sowing Discord. I don't know if you heard this or not, but the president of the United States, Donald Trump, has made known that he intends, if he hasn't already done so, he intends to declare Antifa as a terrorist organization. Come on. Yes. Here's a couple of issues. Terrorist organization? Yeah, I think they qualify. Look at what they've done around the nation. You're talking about people who are masked and sowing discord everywhere, rioting in the streets, criminal actions, burning down city blocks, taking over whole sections of places like Portland and Seattle, and declaring their chops, their basically their government free zones where they're in charge. I mean, you can't have this and it be considered normal. It's not normal. Trump has designated Antifa as a major terrorist group. The problem they're going to have is, for the most part, Antifa is technically a decentralized organization. There are people that claim Antifa affiliates, but they don't have any like national leadership. There's no headquarters. They don't have the big fundraising. They're not like, like back in the day with the Irish Republican Army also had Sinn Féin, which was their, their political arm, and they raised money. It's not like that for the most part. But I will tell you that there's a lot more organized activity than you might have imagined. As I began to look into this, I began to realize there are definitely some groups out there that are wackadoodle and Antifa affiliates, and some of them are true violent organizations. Like you've got some, like one of them is called the Armed Queers SLC. There it is, Armed Queers SLC. They were involved in rallies with Elizabeth Warren, and the leader of it is an Iranian transgender who said in her last interview, sometimes violence must happen. Okay, these are dangerous. Well, Trump came out and said most recently, he said, I am pleased to inform our many USA patriots I am designated Antifa a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster as a major terrorist organization. I will also be strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. Do not forget, during the summer of love with the riots, and it was not all, by the way, related to the opportunities to request that the world pay attention to racial injustice and George Floyd. No, it was an opportunity for chaos. Most of these groups do nothing but sow discord. When you look at Antifa, you are not finding an organization that has a plan for what to do next. They are not calling upon a different vote. They're not looking for an agenda item to be put in place. They're not calling for certain candidates to be promoted over others. They just want chaos. And when you watched what happened in places like Portland, where they attacked over and over again the federal courthouse in Portland, there is also any number of things where you saw like Antifa rioting, and there would be pallets of bricks. Remember this? Pallets of bricks would show up on street corners. Like, where did the pallets of bricks come from? Who paid for the pallets of bricks? And they would show up right before the protest, and no one could figure out how they got there, but there's a pallet of bricks. And what did that pallet of bricks? It became a pallet of weapons. And then there were like, you'd see rental trucks pull up, and all of these shields that were made out of 50-gallon drums cut in half, and face shields, and all kinds of equipment being given out. Some of it was emblazoned with logos, and every bit of it looked very organized. You're thinking somewhere, somehow, there is a measure of monetary gain being given to these organizations, and they can buy stuff and then deliver stuff. And who rented the truck to bring it down here? And where did they make all this? And why is that looking so organized? No, they're not near as decentralized as you might think they are.
And there's an Antifa connection to this shooting of Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
I'm not sure if he directly was an Antifa member, Tyler Robinson, but he had Antifa writings on his bullet casings, Bella Ciao, the anti-fascist song, which is what Antifa stands for, anti-fascist. There's a lot of Antifa groups that go on places like Discord, Stream Chat, and they encourage each other to do acts like what Tyler Robinson did. So I think this is fully warranted.
I think it's absolutely fully warranted. At the very least, we need to find out who's funding them and how pallets of bricks and things like that show up at street corners. There is some measure of sowing of discord, of chaos that is being promoted, and it's got backing. And I don't mind knowing that someone's going to look into it, because for the last 4 years, the Biden administration ignored it, and it was allowed to continue growing. And you've got, any number of organizations out there that are definitely funding this stuff. I want to know what's going to happen. So I got a piece from Daily Signal. We'll talk about it. What happens now as Trump has designated Antifa a terrorist organization? Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. For religion
Culture.
As much as anything.
Yeah. And so I remember waking up Christmas morning, and there was a Christmas tree that's decorated. And there's these big mesh bag. At that time, it was the angel tree. Came from the Salvation Angel Tree, which I didn't know that it came from Salvation Angel Tree, Salvation Angels Tree program.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, but I remember waking up, seeing that the tree and these big mesh bag that full of toys and oranges. And I remember at that time, now I'm dated back, the little strawberry shortcake dolls, that smell just like strawberry shortcake. I remember smelling it for the first time. And it makes such an impression. I'm like, who did this? You know, who would do this for us? It would just make such a big impression on me that a few years later, I found out that it was the Salvation Army Angel Tree, and I wanted to volunteer there and help. And so I got to volunteer with that program for several years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Give back.
To give back.
Yeah.
Because it makes such a huge impression on me.
Well, so let me ask you this. So you came to America with, you called it a fairy tale ideal of what America might be, never having seen it. Now you've been here for a few years. Was it living up to expectations?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
So no deflation, no, loss of the ideal?
No. Part of it because we knew what communism did to our country. And we knew that my parents and some of my 4 siblings and cousins and aunts and uncles in Vietnam, I knew that they were struggling so badly that anything is better than what they are living. And America's given us these opportunities we're just so grateful to whatever America gave us, and we seize it, and work really hard. I've always, when I go and speak to kids now, I've always like, you don't have to be the smartest kid in the classroom. You just got to show up and work. That's all.
I practiced law, and I was told by an old lawyer back when I was a new lawyer. I won't say young because I wasn't young, but I was told by an old lawyer when I was a new lawyer. He said, you don't have to be the smartest lawyer in town. You just have to be the hardest working one.
Yep.
He said, most lawyers are lazy. He said, you do the work and do the research and prepare yourself. You'll beat the smartest lawyer in town every time.
Exactly. Wise words.
There are wise words. I actually shared them with another young lawyer later because now I'm the old lawyer. Well, so let me ask you something. You mentioned a moment ago, you knew back home that your family that you had left behind lived still in a struggle in many ways. Did you have communication with them? Did you know how they were doing? Did you write back and forth? What?
Yes.
Okay.
We did. At that time, we wrote back and forth, and it would take months. And everything we wrote to them was open by the communists.
Oh.
And they would read our letters because I knew that because when I received letters from home, my parents and sibling would date the letter, so I knew it would take several months. And all of my letters that I received had been opened. And I remember one time I even slipped $1 or $2 in my letter, and my dad wrote back and told us not to do that anymore because they won't get it.
Wow.
It was open and read and sealed.
But at least they knew you were safe.
Yes.
How long did it take before they knew you were safe?
6 or 8 months.
Okay. So you were able to get a message to them while you were in the refugee camp?
When the organization came and helped us, we wrote a letter to my cousin in Australia, and they delivered to my cousin in Australia. And my cousin in Australia wrote to my parents, said that your family is in a refugee camp in Indonesia. That's how they,
Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Yeah, y'all want to talk about this show. This one, it goes like from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean, all the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the line from there to what we call once again, Fort Benning. Yeah, and big old patches of North Georgia, Mississippi thrown in just for good measure, and that's just the radio. And then there's all y'all out there in the whole wide world going to the World Wide Web, live streaming the show, live streaming, video, audio, all of it. Places like YouTube, X, Rumble, Facebook, our website, rightside.media.org. And then, by the way, there's all you podcasters who catch it after the fact. And JP told me yesterday, have over 350,000 downloads of that podcast of the show. I say all that to say we can see it. We know, and we know where you're picking up on the show, and it means the world to us. The fact that y'all do that, I mean, I still can't get over the fact that I get to sit here and share my thoughts and share my heart on this microphone for 3 hours a day, and people actually listen. And so thank you very much. We appreciate you on a Thankful Thursday more so than ever. So I just said a moment ago that President Trump is declaring Antifa as a terrorist organization. I think they've earned it. I think they've earned that moniker, and they've been getting away with crap like you would not believe. In fact, one of the things that really irritates me right now is the left saying, we shouldn't have ICE agents wearing masks, and they never say a thing about masked Antifa thugs rioting in the streets and threatening people and abusing people and burning things and taking over city blocks and calling it a chop zone or a Chaz or whatever they want to call it. So what happens now? If you get an official designation as a terrorist organization, does that change things? I mean, what happens? Well, so first of all, I will say this. White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson told the Daily Signal in a piece that I've got in my calloused former paratrooper hands. She said, left-wing organizations have fueled violent riots, organized attacks against law enforcement officers, coordinated illegal doxing campaigns, and arranged drop points for weapons and riot materials and more. Yeah. So the Trump administration is going to get to the bottom of this vast network inciting violence in American communities. And that's just it. If you Google the phrase outside agitators, you will find that in almost every major riot that we've seen in the last few years, there are always allegations that large numbers of the participants were actually outside agitators, almost like professional rioters, traveling around the country. There were any number of times when we saw things like in the pro-Palestine campus takeovers. Remember those? In places like, Columbia and Yale and all the, and where they were taking over college campuses and seizing the dorms or seizing the libraries or whatever the case may be. You would see some of the same faces. Wait a minute, that guy, wasn't he in the picture we saw at the other riot? Yes, he was. You know why? Because some of them are professional outside agitators. How did they get paid? Where are they coming from? Do they have no jobs? Maybe this is their job. So what happens if Trump designates Antifa as a terrorist organization? Well, first of all, take into account what I just described to you is a clear indication that a lot of these riots and antisocial activities and the protests and the attacks on police, those are not organic. Those didn't spring up. They were not grassroots. They were not organic. They were organized. Now, there will be organic participants, and there will be professional agitators who go in there and stir up the crowd. But the reality is, what we're finding more and more is there's something in the background that is giving some measure of backing and credibility and funding to these organizations. So what happens? Well, number one, you've got to look back at the history and why this is even necessary. In the June 2020 summer of love, right? The May through June timeframe when the riots are going crazy, over $2 billion in insurance payouts alone for damage. $2 billion. It was the most costly riot and civil order catastrophe in the nation's history, taken as totality. 26 Americans, 26 were killed in these riots. 26. But the designation now as a terrorist organization actually gives, like, federal law enforcement can have enhanced capabilities. They'll be able to do things like block the organization's funding. They'll be able to seize assets as needed because it's how they can help deter additional events. The legal systems will be able to deter, like enjoin their financial transactions, stop their bank accounts from paying for more pallets of bricks. You'll be able to prioritize federal resources to deal with the issue. There's even something that comes into play that I think should have already been in play, and that's part of Title 18 of the U.S. Code, Section 2101, that literally talks about the criminalization of interstate travel or the use of interstate commerce, including, and by the way, including things like mail, telephone, radio, television, all of it, to incite riots, organize, promote, or encourage riots, or commit acts of violence. In other words, these professional agitators that are traveling around bringing their pallets of bricks. There's actually a section of the U.S. Code that criminalizes that activity. And yet there's been no investigation of any substance, in part because they've always been talked about as, well, it's, it's kind of an organic thing. These kids just sprang up and, it was like copycats. They just put on the black attire and use the black flag. And I mean, they're like friggin' ISIS in America. It's just ridiculous. And we're going to say there's no organization here. Who paid for all this stuff? Is it really just college kids springing up out of nowhere, funding it themselves, buying the pieces parts for their gear on Amazon? What are we seeing here? And no, the effort being put behind the investigation now is going to be enhanced because of a designation of terrorist activity. By the way, there's other organizations that are out there that you can see right now. We know they're there. I mentioned a minute ago that there's some serious organization in terms of this new breed of extremist it's really concerning. Like there's one that calls itself the Elm Fork John Brown Club, and they got a guy named Benjamin Song, which I think is a transgender. But Song used to be like this run-of-the-mill black-clad Antifa guy on the street. But now he's got his own group, and he calls it the Trans and Queer Identity Issues, and they basically teach leftist militants how to use firearms and be prepared for civil war. Interesting. We've got the guy who went by the name of Ziz. His name is Jack Ziz Lasota. He was part of a transgender murder cult. Okay. Went on a multi-state killing spree. I don't even remember this. I did look this up and find out more about it. Killed 6 people. His whole ideology was anarchism. And they revered characters who were part of mass killings. You have any number of groups like this out there that latch on to these like lost souls on the internet and then sort of become almost cult-like in their following. And a lot of them are true radical leftists. And then the transgender murder cult is a part of it. I've got one right here, a piece on the Daily Wire. And this came out today. A 10,000 member strong, they say, Daily Wire, I mean, they're saying it, a 10,000 member strong group that calls itself the Socialist Rifle Association has been conducting weapons training for transgender and Marxist-Leninist extremists. Now, they got their own Second Amendment rights. No one's saying they don't. But when they start stocking up on assault rifles and tactical gear and training people how to go out and riot and carry their firearms to the riots, you get a little concerned, right? Somebody should be looking into it. I mean, man, we had unarmed people at the January 6th event being excoriated and sentenced to prison. And yet you got events like now where you got murder cults and left-wing organizations that are being funded by background organizations that you just wonder about. And I'm telling you, it's concerning. Trump is right to name Antifa as a major terrorist group. And we'll watch and wait and see how this plays out. That being said, we got plenty more on the plate, but I'll tell you right now, I got plenty of text messages. Let me grab a few of these. John N. from Huntsville says, Phil, your question regarding paying the Antifa and their like, just look through how easy it is to send money through the various cash apps. I have seen that. In fact, I dealt with that in a lawsuit as an attorney. Someone stealing from their grandmother, and their choice was to use Cash App and debit card transactions. And that's exactly what they were doing. You also got these NGOs like Chirla out in California, Chirla, CHIRLA. And I've forgotten exactly what it stands for. I've got it in one of my articles right here, but you can look at that, man. Chirla. Tell me what it stands for.
The Coalition of Humane Immigrant Rights.
That's it. They claim to be a humane immigrants' rights organization. They funded a lot of the rioting in LA most recently that Trump had to send the National Guard in to help quell, because they got a ton of money from the state of California to do things related to quote unquote immigration rights. And their version of dealing with it was to help the rioters. So basically the taxpayers of California helped pay the people to riot, to burn down their stores. Go figure. Joe in Tennessee says the SEIU needs to be classified as terrorist. Joe, I don't think a labor union is going to suddenly become a terrorist organization, but I hear where you're coming from, man. I feel your pain. John from Rossville, Georgia says, I was raised in Lancaster, PA, and our county was a town called Intercourse. Yep. And because it was an intersection of two more towns, Paradise and New Holland, and the Amish in that area did not know the meaning of the uncapitalized word. Okay. I'm not going to read the rest of the text. I'm going to stop there. John, thank you.
Yeah.
Yellow Dog Mike checking in. Yellow Dog Mike, what you got? He says, just fact checked your comment on bricks for Portland riots. It's a lie. Get JP to check it. Really? Because there were pallets of bricks that showed up, and I didn't say just for Portland. I said for the riots. You look back on it, man. There were pallets of bricks that would show up at riots, and you can't tell me they weren't. He just fact checked it. He fact checked it. Where'd he fact check it? Axios? What'd you do? Go to the Daily Beast? You read an article in Mother Jones, Yellow Dog? Come on. Ben from Decatur says, perhaps pizza to use the stuff we had. What are we doing?
I'm pretty sure that was a text for somebody else.
Yeah. So Ben, just in case you're trying to text somebody else about getting pizza for dinner, you texted it to us. Just saying. All right, listen, we're taking a break. We'll come right back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Mom, I found out later in 93 when I went back that my mom, okay, the market in Vietnam is, people go to the market in Vietnam a lot, every day, right?
Like the street markets.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's also a social place, a place where people catch up with their neighbors, and find out,
All the
gossip going on. And every day she would go to the market and she would hear so-and-so left, but they didn't survive the sea.
Oh, wow.
So-and-so was robbed by pirates and they killed everyone. It got to the point where my parents hadn't heard from us for months. My mom was so distraught. She thought that she might have sent her kids to die, because she hadn't heard from us for months, and she didn't think that we had survived. She said, I can't hear this anymore. So she stopped going to the market, and she shut herself upstairs in one of the rooms until she could hear if we had survived or not.
Wow.
And my sister said one time she went to spend some time with my grandmother for the summer and came back, and my mom was sitting there, and she didn't even recognize my mom because my mom had lost so much weight, and she was just grieving, thinking that we didn't survive.
Wow. But you did. Mm-hmm. You came to the United States. Life is better. And were you able to communicate with them directly at that point? Were those letters, you weren't having to go through Australia anymore. You were sending letters directly.
Right.
Wow. So you're 22 years old leaving high school, but you met a guy named John at some point, who's sitting over here to my left. And you and John now have been married for a lot of years.
It'll be 35 years this June.
Yeah. My wife, Charlene, and I are at 38.
Wow.
But you and John met, and I saw you give a speech to a church, and you said that John had already decided he was going to marry an Asian woman because God had told him that.
Yes.
And then he met you.
Yes.
And I guess that was it.
Yeah.
But you also had some friends who prayed you two together. Mm-hmm. Tell that story.
Okay, so let's see how. Okay, so John went on a mission trip, Central America, and he was engaged to a lovely young lady in North Alabama. Well, during his mission trip, he realized she wasn't the one for him. So when he got back, he broke up their engagement. So a few months after that, he was going down an escalator at the Parisian. If you live in North Alabama, there was a mall there with a store called Parisians.
Yeah.
Well, he was buying a gift for a baby shower, and he came down this escalator, and he saw this older Asian lady at the end of the escalator where there was some makeup counters.
Yeah.
And he had a flashback that when he was a kid, he saw himself marry an Asian person, a woman. And so he said, he did out loud, he said, God, that's what I need.
Apparently he was right.
And so the next day when he went to the baby shower, he saw a friend, and his friend said, we have this girl we want you to meet. She's a friend of my girlfriend, who at that time was my best friend in high school. And John's like, I don't really want to date a high school girl.
Because he was older, right?
Right. He graduated from UAH, has his engineering degree and all that stuff. He was 25. And he said, no, I don't really want to date a high school girl. And his friend said, oh, no, she's actually 22 years old.
But she's still in high school.
Yeah, she's still in high school. And he said, no, I don't really want to date a stupid high school girl. And they're like, no, she's actually 22. And they had to explain why I was 22 in high school. I didn't know English and all that. And they had this a grainy high school newspaper of me winning some sort of award. And they showed it to him, and he said, oh, okay, I'll meet him and her. And so he came on our awards night, and that's how I met him. And I knew he was the one right away. I wasn't even allowed to date at that time.
Oh, you weren't allowed to date?
I've never
dated. Okay, so how did this go over?
Yeah. So I knew
tell your uncle and aunt what's going on now, right?
It took me several months. I had to work up the courage.
Did he have to come to the restaurant?
Oh, my gosh. He ate so much Chinese food. So much. I mean, this is a guy that doesn't even eat black pepper. You know, he was forced to eat a lot of Chinese food.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. All right, John from Huntsville has the grades in. Let me see what we got here. Butters and Lee, he says, both get an A+ for their equally amazing performance, which means today's co-winners are obviously Phil and JP with A++ for their equally brilliant, spot-on performances. Congratulations. Thank you, John. Appreciate you, man, as always. A couple of quick texts, and I'll go to the phones. Matt from Madison says it wasn't just bricks. They had several components of a riot stage and handing items out. Yeah, they did, man. There was something going on in the background. That is for sure. Sandy from Elkmont sent me a YouTube link that I can't watch right now, Sandy, because I'm on the air, but thank you. Brand spanking new in the text lines. Haven't told us their name yet. In fact, I can see where they've texted in the past and haven't told us their name. Says the First Amendment is Congress shall make no law. They haven't. Okay.
I think he's talking about Congress can't pass laws against your free speech. And so that's what he's trying to say.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That's not a bad point. I think I see what his point is. Joe from Indiana says, if you want fresh fries and tots, order without salt. You do that to avoid getting chewy tots. Listen, I'm just telling you, man, the chewy tots were old. That's why they gave me the old stuff. Old. It was old. They were bad. They were mummified.
I don't think salt makes things chewy.
No.
From my experience.
Nope. Not at all. Let me go to the phones. Jeff Rowe from Indiana. Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good at about 10 miles an hour. That's what I'm doing.
All right. Are you already past the what do you call that place? The Bat Building or whatever you call it?
Oh yeah, the Batman Building. Yeah. I'm almost to Goodlettsville, where after you get past that exit, it's wide open then for whatever reason, but they can't figure out how to merge, so I'm stuck in traffic.
Well, all right. Well, listen. Hey, we talked a lot about Jimmy Kimmel. We talked about Antifa. We had stuff with Butters and Lee. What's your pleasure, man? What do you want to talk about?
I laugh my butt off every time I hear the word Antifa, because Antifa is as much anti-fascist as the Inflation Reduction Act was to reduce inflation.
Yes, like it's just, the name alone is ironic.
Yeah, well, I mean, they should be pro-fa because they're pro-fascist. Somebody needs. It's like, well, the Nazi brown shirts, they was a pro-Jewish organization, wasn't they? I mean, come on.
God, that's about where it's at. But you know what though? I look at some of the chuckleheads that are out there on the street, and I have the feeling they're not exactly students of history. What do you think?
I'll never accuse a leftist of being an intelligent person, because it's shown over and over again that they're quite not.
Quite not. But, I like it. Yes, exactly.
Quite not.
Well.
But the thing about it is, what somebody needs to do is go out there and take the definite dictionary definition of a fascist, and then go down there and ask these people these questions or whatever, that a multiple choice or whatever, and see what they pick out and see how, and then after they answer the questions, turn the board around and see if they've checked everything that makes them a fascist. because they have no clue.
Like playing a round of like Jeopardy. What is a fascist for $100, please? And they don't even know the answer.
No, they don't have a clue. I mean, dumb people do dumb things, and they've got quite a few dumb people in these groups.
Hey,
That's the problem.
but you remember, don't you? I mean, like Yellow Dog Mike was saying, that was all a lie. There were no pallets of bricks. You remember all that stuff about how pallets of bricks would show up, and suddenly like truckloads of shields would show up? You remember all that stuff?
Oh no, that's your imagination, Bill. No, that ever happened. No, of course not. That's what Scope says. I'm sure.
Okay, thank you for backing me up, my brother. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, well, you know how I'm backing you up with sarcasm there, buddy, because that's exactly what that is.
Yeah, it's exactly what that is. It is it's unbelievable, and I'm looking forward to seeing if they can actually track down where some of the source funding comes from for that kind of stuff. And at the very least, it needs to be exposed. I mean, if they wind up having some constitutionally protected means of free speech that lets them fund the organizations they want to, that's fine. But tell us who you are. I think that's fair. Which one of you actually wrote the check to allow the city streets to burn? I'd like to know.
Yeah, I mean, they got to get money from somewhere. I mean, they're like everything else. They're funded by someone who wants to stay anonymous.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't matter how much they're funded. If you buy a pallet of bricks and put it out there for that purpose, then you're funding them. You bought basically their tools for destruction.
Well, we'll see where it goes, but Trump's already put it out there, and I fully suspect at some point someone's going to file a lawsuit, and I'd like to know who's going to be the attorney for Antifa. That's what I want to know. When they file their lawsuit and say, you can't name us a terrorist organization, then the next thing I want to know is, how'd you get an attorney if you're not actually an organization? And oh, by the way, who's funding and paying your attorney? We want to know. That's
well, I'm sure it'll be pro bono.
The ACLU will come in, right?
Some of these Antifa's got to be a lawyer somewhere down the line,
Man, is Antifa even on the Southern Poverty Law Center's hate groups list? Do we know? I mean, they put the Alabama Policy Institute on the hate group list. They put TPUSA on the hate group list. Is Antifa on the hate group list? I would wonder. Are they?
I would think it should
JP's,
be. I mean,
JP's trying to look it up right now.
They're anti-fascist. I mean, they hate fascism.
Well, yeah, you can't go around hating fascism and not be on the hate group list. All right, man.
On the Jimmy Kimmel thing.
Yeah, go ahead real quick.
Wouldn't it be ironic if Jimmy Kimmel got sued by Charlie Kirk's murderer for defamation? I guess it'd be libel and slander.
By his murderer? Oh, like he's saying, like,
well,
don't you dare call me a Republican. Is that what you're saying? Wow.
Well, that's what he called him that and everything, and it's actually not true. So basically, wouldn't he have a case just as well as anyone else who was slandered on national TV?
It's people like you that keep lawyers busy. That's what I got to say. How about that?
just thinking outside the box, buddy.
All right, man. Listen, we got to go. The music's playing, man. Be safe on the road. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good one.
Have a good one, man. All right, listen. I'm serious when I say it. I mean it every single time. There are indeed more of us than there are of them. God is still on his throne. Y'all stay in the fight. We'll see you tomorrow.